well, I would say off time, right? But it's not an off time for FNATIC. They work hard, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
They prepared all the maps. They go in here prepared with the huge map pool, something that KRU might be struggling with. And, you know, FNATIC actually made a lot of changes to the lineup in the beginning. So they're coming in hot, right? They got 2 new players at the beginning of April. By the way, KRU also got 2 new players at the end of March.
Yep.
So very similar timelines for both of those teams. But FNATIC is one of those teams that is setting up metas. You know, when they made basically the lineup on Bind with Viper, with Sky, with the Raze, that was something that many teams adapted to, and mostly Ascend with the difference on the Jet with CNET. But in general, FNATIC is one of those teams that is always prepared, you know, always. And this is why I feel like KRU will have a hard time against them.
Now, Veli, over to you, though. Want to get your thoughts on FNATIC and the kind of play we should be expecting from this lineup.
I love FNATIC. I think that they're going to be one of the best teams here when it comes to adaptability. And it's because they bring a plethora of different play styles, right? You take a look at Magnum Sky and Dirky Sova, and on maps like Bind, they're used so well. It is smart aggression all the way for FNATIC. Whenever you see a Trailblazer or Sova's Owl Drone, you can definitely guarantee that there's possibly someone behind them to get that kill. It is so smart. But the thing is, Golden Boy, they can flip the switch. They can slow down the pace as well. Mystic on Viper, you see it on the screen right now. He can slow down attacks like no other, and I really want to see if they can deal with Latin America's really fast and aggressive playstyle.
Yeah. Now, looking at the other side of the field, we got KRU from Latin America, who are the final team to qualify for this tournament. As we look at their roster, what are the expectations that we should have for this lineup, Achilleos?
It's really tough to say. I think that a lot of people are coming into watching this event with very low expectations. Often people will associate the skill of a team with just like the history of a region in a genre of esports. You know, granted, you know, Korea with TAC FPS, that kind of stuff. I think that KRU is going to be a lot better than a lot of people might have anticipated. They clearly have their fundamentals down. They do study a lot of the European region, so we might see a similar clash of styles here on the maps. We'll have to see what they've developed in the downtime getting ready for this event. But I think that they're a little bit of a dark horse coming into this. I don't think that they're going to be able to make a run into the grand final or anything of that by that measure, but I think that they certainly could really exceed people's expectations and potentially make a run into, you know, the comfortable top 5.
Yeah, that's right. Here are the map stats for KRU. Bind, obviously, Lothar, has not been favorable to them, but something to note there in the footage you saw, this team had to qualify on land in order to get to Reykjavik. So this could very well be what they need, Lothar, in order for them to get themselves over the hump.
Very young players coming from KRU Esports, right? They're all, if I'm not mistaken, below 20 years old.
Wow.
And playing on LAN already, environment, that's a huge advantage. Maybe something that FNATIC will not have, but at the same time, KRU is a team that is a very well-balanced team in my eyes, but they're probably too easy to read for FNATIC. So they're going to have a hard time because they only had 12 days of off time to travel also to Iceland after the finals against Infinity. So they might not have enough time to be well prepared against FNATIC, and they start over with such a big match, right? So this is going to be a big test ahead of them, and I hope they're going to change up a little bit of their pace that they were playing in the past, because they are a little bit on the slower side, you know, and FNATIC is one of those teams that preys on those teams that give them space.
Yeah, that's right. It's going to be a very unique approach playstyle-wise here for KRU. Veli, how do you feel that could potentially shape things up against this FNATIC lineup that's looking to really put EU in a very dominant position at the start of Masters 2?
Well, the thing is, I think the biggest issue for KRU is the simple fact that they don't spread around the map much like you see with a lot of European teams. And FNATIC, they could funnel in and take advantage of that, right? If I'm on KRU and what I see what they do on Haven, which is FNATIC's second best map, there's a lot of utility synergy that we have, and it's going to be all about Delzik and his Astra. You can see those gravity wells try to pull people in through toxic screens or even nano swarms, but they're going to have to make sure that Delzik stay alive, because if Delzik dies, that's a big part of their utility game plan.
Correct, yeah.
And he's going to have to bring it every single round.
Yeah, well, we're going to see that in a moment here, folks. But be sure to join in on the fun using the hashtag Verizon 5G All Chat, and we'll feature your tweets throughout today's broadcast. Should be a good time. Make sure you get out there and you're talking about the games. Speaking of socials, we had a poll on Valorant Esports, and fans believe that FNATIC will win today's matchup by 83%. Now it's time for our trusted analysts to do the same. So, gentlemen, Veli, we'll start with you. Let's just go down the line because I know we want to get into the matches. Who do you got winning this one?
Oh, FNATIC 2-0. No doubt about it, GB.
Wow. Okay, spice coming out of Veli. Achilles.
I have to agree. I think this is going to be a 2-0. I think depending on what the map draft looks like, it might be a 2-1, but either way, FNATIC taking the win.
Okay, and Lothar, finally for you?
Well, if we would have 5 analysts here on the desk, one would have said that it's KRU, right? But it's not me. I'm going to say FNATIC. They're going to take it probably 2-0, but close matches.
All right, well, it's going to be some great games, without a doubt, folks. But that is it. Are you ready? Because the games begin in Reykjavik right now.
Welcome to Masters, ladies and gents. FNATIC facing off against KRU to kick things off. I can't imagine a better way to test out the global talent coming into this tournament. FNATIC, of course, deemed as the mad scientists of Europe, constantly evolving that meta, pushing boundaries, changing it up, and KRU. I've not heard the word dark horse thrown around since 2013 Katy Perry. These boys are the real deal, and we've got to see what they can bring to the stage. And of course, before we get to that, we've got to also look towards the map veto. What do these two teams want to do when it comes to the stage that they play towards? The battlefield is going to be set any second now, and of course we've got our expectations. You're probably not going to see too much play to the likes of, you know, if you're playing FNATIC, you might want to take out Bind. But I'm of course not alone in bringing you this and theorizing what's coming up. I'm joined by the one and only Hypoc. Now, how are we feeling today coming into this, especially with that map veto now just moments away?
I mean, yeah, it's going to be a very exciting matchup. I think, obviously, the big talking point, obviously, already covered on the desk briefly, is FNATIC and obviously Split. I don't think, you know, when we look back at the improvements overall, I don't think it's going to be underprepared this time around. But is KRU the team really? There you go. No surprises. Straight away comes through. Here's their permaban. So not going to see it at all today, Lauren.
Yeah, as part to expectation, whether or not they've worked on that behind the scenes. And there, as highlighted earlier, KRU going to take away Bind. A very good veto to start with so far, I think. The safest beginning, but this now leaves it up to KRU to set the pace on that first map choice. And it looks like Haven's going to come through.
Yeah, and that's actually a more interesting one. We can break that down in a second. Obviously, wait to see FNATIC come through and select here next. Actually going to go ahead and pick attack on Haven as well. That's,
okay,
that's
not too unexpected, but it's...
Yeah.
It's okay. It's going to set maybe a tone.
It does indeed. As again, expectations-wise, I mean, the rest of the map pool. Icebox coming through is an interesting one. That's
okay.
I mean, that leaves an interesting dynamic for the decider here. Obviously, being Ascent, which actually leans a little heavier in KRU's favor, I would say. I mean, FNATIC no slouches at all on that map, but definitely makes it interesting. I think FNATIC potentially left this open to expect the 2-0 closeout, Lauren, honestly.
Yeah, if it goes all three, that's when we are gonna have to put a question mark potentially beside who wins it. But the man on the screen winning hearts and minds, it seems. The press conference for him, they discussed the map veto. Boaster aware that there was some faults, there were some flaws, and yes, in a best of 5 grand final, you could see them being pushed. However, best of 3 to begin with, they should be able to operate comfortably. But again, for the people out there who depend too much on statistics, for example, they'll look at Icebox, they'll look at KRU and go, they've got it sewn up in the bag, but it's only 3 played games. Yes, they were good games, but again, that's within a region we don't get to see too often. And this is the chance to actually see, are they really a dark horse? What is that level of competition coming in? These are all questions we can start reiterating once we get into the game. There's no point over-hashing it. I know everyone's been out there kind of dedicated to the crumb trail. They've been trying to hoover up of both these teams. Oh, what's going to happen? But there is a real threat with KRU. I think Achilleo said low expectations, and I almost disagree. I think they've actually got some quite high expectations from not only their region, but a lot of the analysts out there. I mean, you've got your plat chatters out there, you know, a couple of pieces and a couple of people definitely giving them a little bit of room. Maybe because of the playstyle that we've heard of, maybe because, hey, they run very similar comps to EU. They've got a little bit of that stylistic matchup that could be interesting, but do you think it's enough to best FNATIC?
Well, I mean, that's the thing, right? In terms of expectations, yes, this is a huge opportunity for effectively put the region on the map, right? A big kind of, is anomaly the right word? To be drawn up against FNATIC as well. Like you said, we're taking inspiration in certain aspects from strategies, compositions, but this really is the real test. It's like, you know, can they do it better than FNATIC, right?
Isn't that just the quandary on most of our minds? And of course, as the players settle in, we will start looking towards the agent select as soon as they are comfortable. There's no rush on that, really, because I'm just happy we get a LAN. Like, can we be honest here? Like, I know we're doing the whole, like, hype thing and it's Masters, but, like, we're on LAN. We get to see regions now playing each other that, again, you can theory craft and you can analyze, you can pore over the replays and you can read into it what you will, but finally we get that real litmus test of, okay, are FNATIC going to be able to get over those nerves? right? It's a big point for them. They made big roster changes, and it worked out to at least get to here. But now they're on the stage. They're young guns. They brought in new firepower. It was a bit of a plug and play. As Boaster did say, it wasn't a super hard change up in that aspect, but still, it is new players, new environment. And, well, they already said on the desk that KRU, they've already kind of, I guess had their mettle tested in a LAN environment, and hey, they won the thing. So this is going to be a little bit of a telling sign as to what to expect in the bigger picture. And from what I've heard, FNATIC haven't been showing too much off here. They've been trying to keep a little bit of their practice quiet when it comes to scrimming other teams at Iceland.
I think it's no secret that FNATIC are going to play their cards very close to their chest in this Alex. But again, game one, day one, do we see FNATIC really dig deep in the playbook, bring out some of the, that's Summon FC geekiness, right? That was initially what put them on the map. Whether or not we're going to see it early on, really depends whether or not KRU can test them. That's my honest opinion here, Lauren.
It's going to be tough to decide between the two, and I don't envy the analysts having to make predictions, and I'm gonna just not do it. So I'll just say I'm excited to see how it goes, but I'm trying to think of agent select here when it comes down to these maps. Now, of course, FNATIC were one of the teams that did bring the new meta into effect. They were one of the first to kind of highlight what can be used. However, they do shy a little away from Astra, for example. They do utilize her when needed, but not constantly. It's a little bit of a here and there thing. For example, Brimstone gets brought in instead, and even said that they just feel it's a little more viable in what they want to do with it. Do we think we're going to see any big meta changes on the agent select, or do you think it's going to be playing to safety here?
Much to the point I just made, I don't think we're going to see anything crazy in game one here, unless, things get, we start pushing towards the desperation strats, right? We start digging deep and start experimenting with things. If we look at composition-wise, I don't think there's massive differences in terms of, play style-wise, what we're going to be expecting to see out of both teams, KRU and FNATIC. Obviously, previously, on Haven in particular, FNATIC started messing with some of those kind of set plays with Astra that looked fantastic, right? And expectations-wise with KRU on, particularly on defense, if they leave that to chance and they kind of give FNATIC any space at all in the early round, we know how quick FNATIC are to punish that.
It seems as though they are just going to get themselves set up here. May take a second or two, but this does mean that you guys at home can start telling me your predictions. I always want to hear it. Use the hashtag, of course, get on Twitter. I want to know who you guys are predicting this. And don't just give me a name. Give me a little reason as to why. Give me a little bit of a... See, look at this guy. See, you want to vote against him? No, you can't. You can't. The moves. But there is something to be said about having someone like Boaster to lighten the mood for the team. These are young players, and we'll say it time and time again. We'll have to constantly go over it because it is a big point that at this point, you do need someone who's going to be that emotional lift. And I think a couple of people were surprised seeing the likes of Yampy, for example, through it was like the vlogs that Liquid were doing, being such a huge element of a mood lifter, a refocuser, someone to bring them back to that element, which is incredibly imperative. So I feel as though Boaster does play a big role in this, and it does add to the weight on the shoulders, right? It's something that is going to have to be brought up, that you got to hope for Boaster's sake they're all in the right place and the mindsets are right, because it's going to be hard to lift them back up if they do start on a downward trend. Emotional players, highest highs, lowest lows, but they have the structure, and that's something we can't say enough. And I've got to say it, KRU do as well. They're a team, to me, that have constantly seemed phenomenal when it comes to that. They have that kind of surround to them. They have the strategic approach that gives them that safety as individuals, that they don't just need that, I guess rolling it back, tens and friends screaming team, right? You can play as a collective. You get to have all of it.
Yeah, I think, if we look back, we start talking kind of concerns or win conditions, right, Lauren? It's whether or not KRU can really find value from some of these more unorthodox rounds. Some of the biggest losses we've seen from FNATIC regionally have been versus teams that are able to really embrace the chaos of playing a very fast and loose game and switching things up constantly round by round. Now, for KRU, they need to be able to nail those rounds consistently, but also be prepared to remain very disciplined in terms of the rounds that they play out slower.
Okay, so let's then talk about win conditions. As of course, we are filling a little bit of time, so keep yourselves locked in. Don't worry, we know it as well. We're here with you, but it does mean we can kind of talk a little more nonsense. Now, win conditions for, let's start with FNATIC, right? It's the easier go-to. We've seen them a lot, especially as we are more predominantly EU casters. So in your mind, let's set the bar, right? Let's talk about those win conditions that get them this game, and then we'll flip the switch and talk about KRU as well. What do you see being, let's say, 2 or 3 just very key components that would create that avenue for them to collect this victory?
I mean, honestly, the win conditions for FNATIC are being able to really nail those choreographed rounds. I think overall, those are the ones that make it very, very difficult for a team to adapt to on the fly, because FNATIC have so many of them, right? We know the playbook is so deep for FNATIC. Now, really, again, from what I just mentioned, it's some of those unorthodox rounds that are the ones that can be FNATIC's demise, right? And then you see a kind of snowball effect of they keep doubling down on this early round aggression on defense, and it gets punished time and time again because they're so eager to try and condition the enemy team into doing certain things. If that doesn't happen, then it's almost like, actually, in terms of being versatile and adapting to those things, FNATIC have struggled in the past.
Okay. So then we'll take that as a starting point. Let's flip it to KRU. Let's talk about what you see being potentially their gateway into this, because I think the map pool definitely caught your eye in that regard.
Yeah, particularly on Haven, it's going to rely a lot on KRU finding value from kind of their default setup, because there's not a lot of contingency plans in KRU's gameplay, right? It's very slow, it's very methodical, but they play very, very deep, and they respond to any information they're given, right? But it's not usually 2 or 3 players coming in. There's not really any secondary layer to that default, right? Right. As soon as they find contact, it's usually a 1-for-1 trade or a 2-for-1 trade. And actually, more often than not, when that doesn't go in their favor, it's very difficult for them to recover rounds.
Okay, so we'll keep our eyes on it. And I think this is something that could be a misconception for potentially some people who've maybe either watched previous games, previous FPS titles, especially, the likes of CS. When you think LATAM, when you think of these sort of regions, you think hyper-aggression. However, I don't think KRU necessarily play to that. They play a very considered game style. Now, for me, when I think about this, I also then consider, well, how often do they get tested in that region? How often does someone know what they're doing, have a counter to it, and potentially run it themselves? I'd say FNATIC play very much a similar aspect of game as their opponents do. This isn't necessarily a massive mismatch of playstyle. This is quite similar, but I just don't know the depth of KRU yet. And that's my big point that I'm going to be looking for, is when things either get worked out, get considered, get maybe even countered, where's that next step going to come from?
And also, you talk about KRU and the default setup. That's really going to be tested here. We know once FNATIC are able to set the pace and take rounds on their terms, then they just continue to punish. They could put you in a stranglehold, and things really, really spiral out of control. So, FNATIC are playing confidently. Expect them to really flex out on their defensive half.
And expectation-wise, let's kind of drill it in on map 1, which would be Haven, if I'm not mistaken. Where do you see this? Let's talk about kind of expected favor of map, right? Like, let's just kind of, I guess, take account for results and kind of ignore the fact of potentially the different regions having varying results. One may look a little stronger and one may look a little weaker, potentially, if they have better opponents, for example. However, would you say this map is favorable heavily towards one side? Do you expect a win there, or do you think this could be a close call?
I think Haven will be pretty comfortable for FNATIC. I think that comes down to just the way in which they're able to improvise in the early round. And again, it's the level of success they find on defense. The fact that they're starting on attack, actually, I think is more of a concern for KRU, right? Because they play very, very deep. They play very, very reactively, which with a team like FNATIC, you give them an inch, they will take a mile. And they will continue to push and exploit those gaps.
No, I'm with you on that. And the results say somewhat the same. I mean, take what you want from that game against Liquid. It was a good look for FNATIC. I think that's the big telling sign to me. Now, again, of course, I've watched bits and pieces of KRU's approach on Haven. We've all poured over the same old, I guess, footage, right? We've all seen the game against Infinity, especially. And it was a good game. Their Astra looked solid. I liked what they did with the utility on Killjoy, for example. I'm curious to see what roster they bring out. I don't know how many times they've run that Astra kind of Killjoy look that they brought in that Infinity game. However, it could be time to now see them refining that, for example, because yes, the boys didn't mention on the desk, they haven't had as much time to maybe acclimate to these opponents or maybe kind of work out and flesh out more of that idea, but they seem to play it very well. They really understood the theory. I do want to know how deep their understanding can go now.
Yeah, I think really, yeah, that's it. And coming back to the map pool briefly, obviously, I mean, KRU didn't actually play Icebox across challenges, at least the final stages. It's like actually some good news there. Somebody's got into game there, Lauren.
We do like to see that. It does mean that Agent Select won't be too far away, or at least we'll get to have confirmation on what they went for, hopefully any second now, and there we go. So right into Agent Select, of course, brought to you by Prime Gaming. Now, anything standing out to you here? I'm going to leave this one to you. Just briefly run me through anything that catches your eye.
Nothing actually standing out too much. I mean, expectations-wise, obviously different. Potentially, yeah. That's a slight adjustment on the side of KRU from maybe what we're expecting. And actually on the side of FNATIC, a little bit of switch up as well. I'm potentially looking to pull something out of the bag here. I mean, I said I wouldn't expect it in game one, but I might actually be on the cards here for FNATIC, as just about to get game one underway here, Lauren.
All right, deep breaths. We are about to dive into game one of Masters. FNATIC up against KRU. LATAM facing off against the EMEA, the European side, of course, of FNATIC here. Going to kick things off, and it'll be KRU on the defensive side and FNATIC on the attack. And you've got to keep your eyes on those young guns coming in. You've got your Dirk, you've got Magnum. These two are heavy hitters. And it looks like a quick piece to begin with. Already Dirk just going to put his body on the line, fly right in towards the site.
Actually come through, yeah. It's 2-for-1 in favor of KRU, actually, and B&J actually going to find another one, and we'll find the third. Doma falls now down to just Magnum as he comes up short. He'll come through, try and swing on. We'll get that headshot through. Tag down to about 70 HP. A lot left to do, and Klaus actually going to close that one out. And actually, like you said, a very fast piece coming through towards A side, but well handled by KRU, in particular B&J.
FNATIC, did you just try and go quickly against a LATAM team? FNATIC? Hey? No. Don't be doing that. Don't be hold your horses here. But a great start, and I think that just proves the firepower that we know is with this region specifically. But we have to now see what they can keep doing down the line. This will bring the economy favorably. And of course, we get to see the new UI as well. Look how cool this looks. You get to see everything. This is great, but also huge shout out as we are going to be seeing a bit of a lighter investment, no armor to supplement the sheriffs and bits and pieces for FNATIC, whereas KRU, of course, going on the full-on SMG buy-up. Unless FNATIC start to turn some of this, we can kind of give a big shout out to our observers as well. Prius, Sapphire, and Yeti bringing you all the action live from in-game, and you gotta love your observers. They're the ones that make it look damn good. Exactly, right? Like, can't mess around with that. But into the game we go. Looking at the utility usage, this looks very similar to what I came to expect, at least watching KRU's previous games coming into this tournament, especially Delzik being such an integral piece playing in towards Garage, and I'm sure FNATIC have looked over the same things, but Doma going to claim a quick kill out of nowhere. B&J, the danger man from the last round, is now down.
This is on the back of actually all the presence shown on the side of KRU. I mean, B&J and Exit actually showing their face over on. Hey, Delzik now just anticipating Magnum drifting through into Garage here, but we'll back
contact
away.
On A.
Yeah.
If they just go subtle, now, yes, Nagset does find one, but they're going to lose position on long. This is where they could maybe overwhelm, but no! Out of nowhere, the huge deny, shut down. There was so much opportunity for maybe a spike plant, get a little bit of a punish, maybe take away some of that economy, but now it's just in tatters. Magnum, great player, but this one, way out of check.
A really, really nice round once again from KRU. I love actually, just in the early round, making a really good read, right? The fact that FNATIC are going to come in, try and take close contact in sewers, just throwing the wall down, just to put the brakes on. We know, obviously, FNATIC like to get early round control in terms of forward to this. Lines up perfectly here, and the last comes through. Doma able to trade that one out. That's a little weapon switch onto the classic for the last. A really nice round from Nagzet.
Okay, so we do have the rifles. Now we do at least have the, what we like to call the bonus round for KRU, so they will be sticking on the lighter purchase, but so as expectation should be, this should be a FNATIC round, but let's see what damage could be done by KRU here. So far, looking for potentially the fight, or at least the shoulder peek towards long, and that's going to get Durka at least on notice, but they are still holding a default for FNATIC.
Little jump spot there. Durka will find ahead at least. No damage put through. And FNATIC now, I guess, anticipating them trying to convert these weapons. Nobody from KRU actually overextending too far. They come through, find no information, but information nonetheless through sewers here. Actually, that's going to force a drift away from A site and some aggression elsewhere.
You've got to keep this clean. If you're on the fan side of FNATIC, you want to see them not get, I guess, lax in this by any account. Klaus on the other side waiting. Boaster starting to build towards, at least indicating the hit may be coming through. You can see the utility put towards A. He's facilitating that. Maybe a quick flank for him. BNJ, though, going to get all the information. And the dash does come out from Durka. He's on the side. The snap comes in. No damage done yet for KRU. And here comes that lurk from Boaster. Lovely work from him. Good read on these rotations. Going to be outnumbered now. Needs to keep that rifle if they want to keep this clean.
Yeah, Klaus comes through, pinched perfectly. So we get one upgrade here. Will they consider coming through and finding, or trying to find a little more damage? You creep through A-Link, but the wall down over spawn, I guess, going to change viability. At least to make it a little harder for them to come through and find it here. Maybe just try and keep some of FNATIC on the site to die to the spike, but I don't think anybody's really going to make any moves here, Lauren.
No, this is... Klaus can keep that rifle. Delzik, if he could get an exit or two, that's kind of the game plan. Not going to be able to get any FNATIC out of there. Actually does get a little closer. Nah, no one to be found. Going to just opt for the spike's way out. And Klaus can at least bring that through to the next round. I guess this is a tick in the box for FNATIC. They did do a nice clean round. They kept 4 rifles up. They convert and get themselves on the board. KRU did a little bit of damage. I'm sure they'd have liked a little bit more out of that.
Yeah.
You know, if they could have cost them a couple more rifles, that could have been huge for the economy. But this is as we expected. Now we get to the fun part, right? This is where it gets a little bit more interesting, is this first real buy round coming in. And what does KRU look like in these? Because we know what FNATIC look like. We've seen a little bit more of them. It's kind of been tried and tested to an extent, but KRU are a little less of a known quantity.
Indeed is. Going to trade out Sky Flashes at least on A here. Nags once again set up to greet this aggression. I'm sure actually doubled up with the Trailblazer. Durka will find it.
Yeah, Durka's looking pretty loose here. That's great for him as well. Just that confidence is key. Young players starting off really well, building up confidence could be massive. So that's a big work for him. The Seekers, as you highlighted, going to come through. And it doesn't give too much, really, at this point. Sky is left to isolate and kind of hold A on their own. And you can see the kind of causation and the effect now of just being that player down. And FNATIC looking elsewhere for that next step. Delzik could be on the chopping block, but he's solid at holding this.
I mean, other than the first blood, it's... I was going to say, other than the first blood, it's a big win there for FNATIC. They could drift away with the Seekers invested also. Nobody from KRU actually going to come over. B&J now trying to tuck in towards sandbags.
Yeah, timing works out so perfectly for FNATIC. They're going to get everything going for themselves. And once again, that constant pressure now in the back of their minds of that mid-lurk coming out from Boaster. But Klaus with a really good shot towards Durka denies that quick start. Now, it's going to at least kind of slow them down for a second, cause a little bit of a pause for thought, but the rest of the site's going to be swarmed, but Klaus denies. A huge 3K from him. Those 2 kills were integral. Now, Boaster feels like a mile away. The spike's now going to be lost. Boaster has to pick up the pieces. Finding Delzik is the first step. Klaus a little less than ideal on HP. Big work from Boaster. This is scrappy, and somehow FNATIC pull it back.
A great recovery on that. Klaus does absolutely fantastic to find all those kills over on A, but somehow, I mean, I thought Boaster was potentially going to be lost in that lurk. There was a moment where, again, the situation comes through where they're able to potentially pinch him in B, but he somehow finds both of them through a link. And right there, I got to say that's kind of a miracle, a blessing for FNATIC to close that round out with how things went down on A side, because they lost the spike as well, Lauren. It was deep on the site.
I thought that was done for, but yeah, Boaster pulling it out of nowhere for this, and that's a huge bonus for these boys, having your IGL not only operating on that sort of level, but also bringing it through in the game as well. So, already Durka gonna just try and keep that economy looking healthy for him. Gonna depend on the knives out for this one. Of course, on the other side, we do have Sheriffs, a little bit of armor around it as well. Klaus and Nags are gonna at least opt for light armor and the rifle in the hands of Mazzino.
I'm playing much deeper this time around, and FNATIC kind of leaning towards Garage initially. I guess just trying to get a feel for whether or not there's a stack anywhere. Maybe playing with lesser weapons, trying to close the distance and get the most value out of them. But 50 seconds left and no real moves made by FNATIC as they now look to creep towards the entry of B. Now, there is an alarm bot there, so Crew are going to have an opportunity to recover, should they? But Klaus actually going to spot both members out outside B. A little bit of damage goes through, but no kill.
Yeah, the Viper Wall can at least temper what could have potentially built off that Sage Wall, but there's Magnum still finding the Danger Man who did have the rifle. That won't be able to be filtered back. Now we look at potentially the damage to the economy, and at the moment they're not finding too many chances. Durka's going to slowly fall away from this, get himself the rifle that was lost, so at least going to keep everything tickety-boo for them. And the last three still just looking for a chance to do some damage here, and really FNATIC aren't giving them many opportunities.
They now find themselves in a 3v5 retake here, and not an awful lot left to do. Once again, I just looking to get some damage on both the catches. Tags inside Garage, Durka comes through, the pinch is perfect. Magnum close things out, Delsic falls, and a flawless round there from FNATIC. Really, really well considered. Once again, like taking all the time that it needs to in mid, anticipating that aggression from Crew, and it never actually came through. It's only really Klaus taking contact on B that, on both sides of the coin there was the turning factor. As soon as that comes through, FNATIC lean back in towards Garage. They know that nobody's holding close there. It leaves C wide open.
I want to see what this double stack on short might do for Crew here, because they're at least going to come back in with the buy. See if they maybe get a little bit aggressive. And it's going to be Durka on the other side as well. So yeah, B and J going to be posted up for the fight. And yeah, just straight up loses it. Durka is on today, and he's going to double down on it as well. Massive entry work from Durka. And you can see the pace he's going to work with. He knows the two that have been playing the site. Yes, Klaus does lean over here, but with it being so quick and so successful, they've got it all. This is a wrap in my mind. They're already backing away towards this.
Yeah, 30 seconds in, you see already Crew have gone all the way back towards C site. Just going to give this one up. Maximum progress. Actually, Diamond's going to retrieve the orb as well. They know they've got the time and the space to do so.
I mean, I wonder how good's FNATIC's money at this point? Could they go for a chase to get some of these guns away?
I think at least three of them, are going to have the opportunity to come, but whether or not FNATIC want to punish this. I mean, Doma's now one away from the res. Durka 3 out of 6 on the Blade Storm as well. Could potentially come through and get a little more ult progress, and like you said, punish the economy of Crew even further. And utility-wise as well, if you look at Crew, other than the 2 snake bites, see, going to be a little bit of a repurchase here. FNATIC do creep towards Garage. Might just take a little poke. I don't think they'll try and commit to this.
Yeah, you can see Delsic desperately trying to hold on to this. Doesn't want to lose these rifles. 3, you can kind of spread the wealth around and kind of drop out the rifles, maybe try and build up a bit of a buy around it. But we've also got to highlight Mazzino and Delsic off to a bit of a quiet start. Mystic the same, but again, if you're facilitating the pieces of Sky, I don't mind too much. But Delsic, I mean, the hits haven't really been coming their way. They have been predominantly towards that A site, I guess, apart from that kind of buy against a little bit of a half buy towards C, but still, I'd like to see them both finding a little bit of form just to see the full power of Crew, because right now, FNATIC are starting to look comfy. Like, the money's getting a little bit too comfortable for me. You've got 8.4, 6.3, 7.7. They're starting to get all of it building their way, so hopefully they can maybe find an answer to this. And I don't know how you shut down someone like Durka, who's just already off to a belting start. Yeah. The man is just flying through this.
And I mean, the big thing is, economy-wise, now FNATIC can start taking a few more risks, right? They now have a little bit of freedom to play around with things on the attack. As I assume we do have a little bit of a tactical pause coming through. Probably on the side of Crew, maybe to just reconsider things here. I think you make a good point, and really, again, look towards the new guys for FNATIC. Yes, we could talk about LAN experience and maybe a few jitters along the way, but for me, it's a huge positive. It goes without saying to see Durka, put on those, just stringing together a couple of kills early on. Those, I guess, regionally would have been the concerns, right? Coming in would be, there is a chance that, FNATIC, I guess, transition from the roster changes. There's still going to be issues.
Now, the thing that comes to my mind as well, and this is something that I guess you can talk about when it comes to younger players especially, is the difference a couple of good rounds can make. That confidence that, oh no, I'm good. Like I've got that hot hand today. Everything feels fine. Like I'm smooth. I'm feeling the game out. And for Durka to have a good beginning, that's just a huge confidence boost for him. That means that suddenly all that pressure that maybe he was feeling, just going to be alleviated instantly. Just going to be feeling out the game. If he keeps that up, fantastic for him. That's a really big tick in the box for FNATIC. Now for KRU on the other side, I think I want to see what answers they come up with here. I want to see how they try and deny these stunning entries from Durka. I mean, the guy's found form early, and it's hard to deal with. We've seen other teams having the same problem, trying to shut down big boys on the entry, right? It's not an easy thing to instantly counter. There's something about it. You know, you got Yampy doing something similar as well. So,
well,
I want to see what the answer is from KRU.
Yeah, and the problem is the other side of what we just saw with that little bit of aggression into sewers. I call it a set piece if you like. That being shut down straight away, I don't want that to be, you know, KRU just thinking, oh, we're not going to get away with that. We can't do it again, because that, actually, like I said before this game started, before this map even started, KRU need to find value in those unorthodox rounds, the ones where they just make a slight adaptation, right? Because I think if they just sit deep and try and react to what FNATIC are doing, we know how quick and how well rehearsed and choreographed some of the site hits from FNATIC can be. And actually with Durka hitting shots like that, again, they don't even need to rely on that. They just need to rely on Durka kind of going in and bread and butter playing entry.
I just heard that Viper just constantly jumping on the box. Thank you, Observer. It's just Yeti's like, no, we're going up to the rooftops. Get away. But all said, at this point, it does seem as though it's a technical pause rather than tactical. So yeah, I was like, well, this is a long one, but hopefully it all gets resolved nice and quick. Again, I'd rather have these players at 100% than anything less. So we can kind of maybe take a step back, and I'm gonna be honest, the start of this, the first couple of pistols are like, oh my, these boys built different. They've got some wild aim, and they did. And FNATIC coming in with that mad aggression on the pistol, I was getting a little nervous, if I'm honest with you, but it seems to have kind of fallen into the right place, at least for Durka. But yeah, I'm looking to see if KRU do side to maybe get some. It's hard to find an answer though. Like we talk about, okay, defensive side of aggression, right? Well, if you go for the fight against Durka, you're going to be met by sheer force, and it seems as though he's on today. So we're about on the rest of the map. But bear in mind, FNATIC are holding a good default throughout this. So it's going to be tricky for them to find that kind of avenue of approach. You could sit deep on the site potentially, make FNATIC take side control, but these boys are solid at executions. They have really good set pieces. This is where I think we were always constantly going to ask the question when it came to KRU that we highlighted at the start. How deep is their knowledge when it comes to being pushed out of their comfort zone? Because we know they dominate when they don't get tested on these things. But if they start being pressured, how deep is that answer? Do they have that strat boot, that little bit of kind of maybe a go-to that they could maybe look towards?
I mean, the other thing, and again, I was call it a criticism if you like, but talking about KRU not having kind of a contingency plan behind their default, just a small thing like Magnum always playing that flank control. Always having the turret outside, garage, double doors, and being there. The thing is, FNATIC are always ready to react on that. Every time they fight for this A lobby control or A long control, if there's contact anywhere else, they're ready to capitalize on it. And actually just switching things up as soon as they then don't fight for A lobby control, you've got the problem with then it's potentially 3 or 4 players stacked up outside garage, and that's so easy to overwhelm.
You get to enjoy how cool the set looks, at least. That's one bonus. Like, we can stop being super serious until the tech pause is showed up. They've got branded coffee cups. Like, why don't I have that?
Yeah, I was just saying,
like drink cups. Like, give me some of this.
Yeah.
Hook me up. I'll hit the start game again button if you send them over. But it does seem as though the tech pause will be carrying on for a bit, and we've kind of discussed our thoughts, at least on this matchup, but there's plenty more to be said today. Like, look at that. They can keep that Red Bull in the cups and everything. Oh, unfair, unfortunate. I just get my little sippy cup so I don't dribble on myself. But at this point, we do have to talk bigger picture because, again, a lot of people are touting this to be not necessarily a huge chance of an upset, but it could have been something to maybe catch FNATIC off if they weren't on their A game. They look fine so far, but it's only map 1 and we're barely into it. So you then kind of look towards the bigger picture of things, right? Like, how much do we read into Scrimbucks? Are you all aboard the Scrimbucks conversation?
Like,
where do you sit on Scrimbucks? I gotta see it now.
It's a difficult one. I think when you talk
I
about
don't
teams
half
like,
it. Come on, all in, dude.
No, I'm staying on the fence here. I'm staying on the fence. I think when you think about teams like FNATIC in particular, they're not a team to ever really show you in one series of scrims kind of everything they've got. I just can we again? I petitioned for this. I petitioned for this in EMEA. We need Boaster Pov just the whole time. Just a camera fixed on Boaster's desk.
He puts on a show, you know, the dance moves. There's so much to go through, but yeah, I mean, as said, I think for me, when I look bigger picture now at the tournament, if FNATIC can deliver in this, I think at least we know where EU somewhat stands to an extent. And I think people have not overcommitted to their hype behind Liquid, but I think if anyone followed Liquid's trail into this tournament, this was a good run, but it was pretty dicey before that. But it does seem as though we're back underway, so I will shut the hell up and start talking about the game in front of us, because yes, there's the timer. Look, I wait to see the timer go down and like, all right, no worries, here we go. 4-2 here, FNATIC up against KRU. It's hard to bring myself back in, but we will be seeing if there's now adaptation from KRU. Their money is in a little bit of a spot of bother. They have 2 SMGs now to supplement those 3 rifles.
Blinded.
Yeah, actually, and again, just talking about that again, Nags, off the back of that flash in A lobby, just straight away invest the wall to slow things down, just in case a fast hit does come through. Now, Magnum and Dirk are going to stay put for the time being, and see elsewhere. Mystic and Boaster showing a little bit of presence over towards C. Now, that's going to bring one player in the form of Delzik over towards site. Doma actually looked as if, I guess they're waiting on this wall to fall, and actually Dirk are going to show on long as well. So this is really interesting here. FNATIC at C now don't look as if they have a good read on the setup. Again, nobody from KRU really overstepping the mark, leaving an opening.
You can see the information wanted to be garnered by BNJ. There we go. Again though, it really is just seeing Durka, so it's kind of hard to work out how much there is on this, but the Seekers do go in, so this is pressure across the board. Now look at this misplay, look at this misread, potentially coming out from KRU. Yeah, they're committing to these rotations towards B, but that spike is slowly creeping up through A long. This is sick work. Now they need Durka to at least be the kind of tip of the spear in this. Now look at that. Perfect bait and switch. Put all that attention towards C. Slowly crept up towards A. That's stunning, but there is a chance of a retake here for KRU.
And Boaster way deep still on C long. Durka now gonna be the front man, like you said, the tip of the spear by the Sage Wall, and actually counter lockdowns on both sides, both invested here, so it's gonna be chaos on the side. Boaster got to come through, potentially shut down that lockdown, Lauren.
You got 5 seconds. One's been shut down, the other's still going 2-on-1. So that does mean KRU's gonna have to get out of there. Detained. 2 players now caught up in this. FNATIC reaggress. You can see a Magnum just takes the ball by the horns. Huge work from FNATIC. Denies the retake with a perfect execution. Every analyst, every fan of your thinking man's Valorant will adore what we just saw.
Yeah, beautiful. And actually in the early round, again, like I said, FNATIC didn't look as if they'd got a good read on the setup from KRU, but they run it out long enough. They show presence on both sides, and actually utility invested. Now the Astra divide comes up on C, and it creates this chaos. KRU are left second guessing. Now with 2 players shown, the flash comes through, they actually assume the hit's coming through. And that leaves A wide open. BNJ throws a flash over from A link. It doesn't actually flash, but he hears Durka dash on behind it. Now that right there, it's just so good to watch around like that back, like you said. It's so well considered when you look at the early round.
Oh, that was gorgeous. I could watch that time and time again. Durka going to be waiting on that heal to work out for himself. Back up to full, looking like a glass cannon, but he'll be just fine with that op. So the first time we're going to see the op coming out for him. A bit of a hybrid when it comes to it. We kind of highlight it on the likes of Icebox, which I'm sure we'll talk about, how varied he can be in that approach. But for now, the first time we get to see it here, so looking to see if he can maybe punish, but it was a little dicey when you're playing it up against the Sheriffs, and there we go. First one to come down, Durka gonna find Klaus. Just slowly but surely, you can see FNATIC trying to just work away at KRU. No rush on it either. FNATIC still have about a minute to play with, so Durka's still happy to be the first one forward. And Delzik trying to find the timing just right, but Magnum's... Oh, no, the timing.
Oh.
That could have been bad, but it wasn't. We're fine.
This is the sort of thing I was talking about here. Magnum having complete control outside double doors makes it so difficult for any aggression. As I say that, Nag's going to find 2 on the way in. Doma and Boaster actually trade back. But damage done on the side of Crew as FNATIC try and bully their way onto B site.
There's a little bit of danger in this. BNJ does at least have light armor in that, but now he's gone. It's done for Doma. Gonna find Delzik, and Op could be recovered? Question mark? Doesn't look as though it will be. For now, across the board, there was a little bit of danger, sure, but it was dealt with immediately. The trade did come back in eventually after that nice little 2-play pickup, but at 6-2, we can't be looking at bits and pieces anymore. You can't be looking at, oh, but that was a nice shot. No, we got to see a little bit more than just that. As you can see, that was Doma just shutting it down at the end. All the contingencies in place, but at 6-2, as said, we can't look at those small wins for the economy. Yeah, this is getting a little bit rough. Oh, and Dirk has got so much room. Coupled with that Astra utility, he can just start building up on this one. Going to try and back away a touch, get the utility work down before he has to get involved here. Sky going to at least slow down the progress, but Magnum's got his back, and in we go already. FNATIC just bullying their way through. This is just brazen aggression, and Crew don't know what to do with it.
And the problem here, I mean, this is the sort of pace change we talk about with FNATIC, where they sit in the default for so many rounds and they show little bits of presence here and there that they'll just stack up as 5 and, as I said, just bully their way onto A site here. Isolating Nags perfectly on long. B&J, nothing really to do there with 2 players stacked up in sewer as well. It's beautiful from FNATIC. Magnum actually. Oh, there's pants down in the window there. Got to respect it with 10 XP now.
He's fine. Boaster, help me out, dude. I don't want that fight. Actually, tell a lie, he's gone. Oh,
He's still challenging.
he had 10 HP, dude. He had 10 HP. What's going on?
But this is the sort of thing I was talking about, right? You can put this under the banner of, you know, unless you're set up to deal with just how many different looks FNATIC have, it's so difficult to find, you know, map control in the early round. And, you know, early on, the things that I kind of like to see was this wall on contact in sewers, right? I mean, we haven't even talked about Mazzino's setup here. The default with the Viper wall coming all the way across B entry, covering sewers, and then also A long. It should give them a lot more control than they're getting. They're not really finding anything from that. So I do want to see a little bit of an adaptation, a little bit of a switch up. Because it looks as if FNATIC have got a couple of different ways to address this formation from Crew. And I'll be honest, right now Crew don't look as if they have enough in the playbook to stop FNATIC.
No, and this was the worry that I think we came into this with, was they seem to understand some of the concept. They run very similar compositions, but how deep is that knowledge of actually executing those ideas? And FNATIC are just flexing on them now. This is a big display from the boys, and it should be a bit of a call to the rest of the tournament saying, well, no, FNATIC are very much the real deal. They look solid. Delzik can be forced away from Garage for now. Magnum can start progressing through if desired. You can see the little Sky Flash to help out. Boaster be the first man forward, and Delzik does get spotted, but Boaster doesn't look phased by this at this point.
It's just anticipating somebody peeking through from window, but nothing. Actually, Delzik and Mazzino, they come through, try and clear through Garage. Now it's just one. Delzik left solo, so we might just catch Boaster. He does indeed. Seekers come through, so got to back away now. But the damage is done. First blood in favor of Crew.
Yeah, brilliant timing on that, but there's that mid-load coming out from Durka this time rather than Boaster. It does get shut down by Nagzit, but there's the res on both sides now invested. Back up to a 5v4. Durka still lost, of course, but Boaster still looking to try and progress through. Garage finds Delzik this time.
Boaster!
Double down on it, looking for the triple on it. Boaster is a madman right now. Insane work from him. And Mazzino is a mile away from trying to deny this. Maybe he could find one of them, but can he deny the plant? No, Magnum's got the back, and there it is. FNATIC just flexing now.
Boaster. That was beautiful. But also, just talk about it a little bit earlier on than that. Delzik kind of being isolated in Garage. The Seekers get invested, and as soon as that presence is shown, FNATIC try and lean away. They see the 2 Seekers go directly towards C site. They try and isolate that one player on B. This first peek here, beautiful shot at the Klaus, and then finds the wallbang as well onto Nags. FNATIC starting to feel themselves, Lauren.
Yep. The confidence is looking sky high. They're starting to just, it's like everyone's just having that on game here. They've started, it was a little bit of a shaky start. They lost the first two, but by that point, once those rifles came out on deck, it has been pretty much flawless at this point. And we do have the op back out for Durka, so have to keep an eye on what he can achieve with this. It does seem as though, yep, Viper going to invest in towards C, just going to lock that down. Pretty standard at this point.
Again, though, we're 10 rounds in, and we haven't seen Crew kind of dip their toes any further than the top of short on A. That's it. And it's the only area of the map. I mean, yes, you could say, Garage and C, maybe even C Link. Double stack. Might find one. Actually, yeah, Magnum good for the trade, though.
Yeah, Magnum's been pretty decent at the trading, and the spacing's okay. A little bit of a shame to lose both like that, but Durka's going to be just fine finding Klaus. You can see Mazzino, yeah, you can check C long, but that's not where the problem really lies at the moment. And FNATIC have good map control. B&J still going to be dedicated towards long. Going to have a chance to maybe find one on this, the shoulder peek, and then the reaggress is going to force him off the angle. But FNATIC are keeping the opponents guessing. They show towards A. They've now hit towards B potentially. This is still very much up in the air. It looks like that commitment towards B now comes in. Durka up on top, but Nagset does finally have a good read on this. Getting a little bit trickier, but Doma going to at least keep the site safe. Spike going to go down. A 3v2 post plant.
And B&J actually spotted out here. Maybe isolated in window. Mazzino got to get something done to draw the pressure away from B&J. Will actually find Magnum off screen somewhere. Mazzino comes through, going to clear all the sides. So they should know that actually they've got a decent pinch opportunity.
Yeah, these are scary times now. FNATIC back to the wall, both of them there. Now Mazzino's going to be the first one out. Spots one. Might have heard the secondary gunfire. B&J needs to come around. Can't do it. Mazzino! Oh, tried to dig deep enough for it, but Doma denies. And FNATIC just going from strength to strength now.
Last round in the half.
Yeah, comes down to the final round. And again, I got to say it, we've gone this long without seeing Crew dip their toes in fighting for any of this territory in the early round. Yes, ultimate invested there from Mazzino, and he's able to explore C long, but that's it, right? Explore, and it's solo. So,
They'll take him at this point.
Really, really cheeky kill actually on the window there. But yeah, I gotta say, it's just way too passive from Crew. You cannot give FNATIC this much space to operate in.
Yeah, we said it stylistically. This isn't a mismatch. This is actually a pretty close matchup in that regard, but FNATIC are known as one of the best at it. They're the ones who kind of set a lot of this concept towards meta, and for now, they're just styling on it. That's going to be the first pickup towards A long. Now, yes, Klaus does hit those rotations early, but they've now been conditioned to worry about that flank, or at least they should be, because already Boaster is right there. Peeking through on the divide, though, Mazzino going to do the best he can. He does catch the rotation. That's one bonus found for them this round.
Durka going to wait out this wall. B&J actually nearly caught off guard, but we'll still find something with the Guardian once again here. Magnum going to invest the lockdown in sewers here, so they've got to respect this and back away from sight for the time being. The flash actually to force them off that angle as well. Going to give them complete sight control here. An opportunity to set up in this post plant. Dome already, it's that wall down. It's going to be able to reinforce with plenty of time left.
Nice post plants coming out. Mystic finding Klaus to begin with. We do see the divide coming in. The last flash put through by Mystic. Going to put it down towards CT. The retake going to start coming through, though. You can see the utility trying to divide it, but Mystic's having none of it. Doma's still there. This retake is going nowhere. FNATIC just holding perfect post plants. They are making Crew feel so uncomfortable in every turn. And for a start, let's real talk this. 10-2 is a huge scoreline.
Yeah, it is, especially when, for me, FNATIC's win condition on this map in particular is having a good attacking half. We know how punishing they can be on defense, how proactive they can be. I mean, their defensive executions here are just absolutely relentless. It's every single round, Lauren. And really, this is the map that, yes, you can talk about Bayern being their strongest. This is the map that I think actually, playstyle-wise, they can flex the hardest on. It really plays to their strengths in being able to be versatile and capitalize off that early round information.
All right, it's got to start with a pistol. Crew fans, you've got to be hoping for it. The deep flash goes in. Mazzino going to start progress up towards C long. Keep your eyes across the map, though. We do have work towards short as well for Crew. Nagzet there going to try and get a little bit of control building. And we've said that KRU do play that quite, not necessarily super slow default, but they play a good default. They don't really get caught off by crazy aggression too often. So again, expect a little bit of a considered piece here. And Mazzino's going to punish. Brilliance from Mazzino, waiting so well. Yes, he took damage for it, but going to claim 2 and force rotations. You can see it. Sky's on the way over. Killjoy's already on the way over. This is now going to put Doma on an island.
He's got to find this first kill clean. Or at least find the information. We'll actually get the time in there, and he's going to wall off and respect the push for the time being, but stacked up here. He's actually going to dip back in. We'll find the we'll find the second as well. Doma, he's gone huge for FNATIC here, leaving them in a 2v3 retake.
He's just made that possible. I don't know how he got away with it. He looked like he was dead. He was a dead man walking, but still. The post-plant positioning should be somewhat okay, but there's still utility. That's going to be a bit of an issue. Magnum going to try and work back in, decides to just go for it, gun out here. Delzik, though, going to agree him with a smile. That's Mystic gone, now just in the hands of Magnum. A 1v3, not going to happen, and KRU convert the first. It's exactly what they need to build back into this game, as they need everything now.
Yeah, they do. And at this point, I mean, with this round deficit, you know, plays like that from Doma, that kind of unexpected to see him kind of re-peak onto short when he knows that it's 3, potentially even 4 players stacked up behind that. But again, FNATIC, they have rounds to play with. They can do things like this to catch KRU off guard.
Still can't believe Doma got away with that. That was absolutely nuts. We do have the scout looking, you know, we've got the kind of classic purchase to come through. I'm not sure if I love that from Durka and Doma. This is, yeah, I'm not sold on the Marshall at this point, if I'm honest, but you can see it's done absolutely nothing. And it's gonna be a quick lean towards A. Yeah, the chase is on, but at this point, Bulldog recovered. That's gonna be for Mystic, but Boaster left with very little. And yeah, no real impact. Yes, Mazzino's down, but that's about it.
And just look for them to do as much damage as possible, especially in these early rounds here, to kind of stop that momentum building for KRU. Again, it's the big thing KRU are looking for here. They're clean round wins, right? Saving as much as they can going through, not having to worry about armor repurchases, weapon repurchases. Cloud's playing perfectly off the turret there to deal with Boaster. Mystic, I expect, actually, with that Marshall purchase, potentially to save this through. Okay, he's actually going to come through and try and dive to the spike as well. Maybe keep somebody on the site. He tries to send out a sound cue to make him believe, but not going to work, and he will fall.
Okay, 4 alive. Second round converted. Not too much damage done off the back of that investment from Durka. I mean, you know, they've got rounds to play with. Fair enough. But I guess why not try it? Like, I'm normally such a proponent of people trying to kind of switch things up a little bit and actually go for, you know, unique plays, but these flashes just... Was that a team flash, or did that get popped, or was it shot? It did look as though he was absolutely team flashed, but Mystic just still able enough
still
to convert
found,
at least the kill. Yeah, it's like, alright mate, fair enough. No worries. But rifles are out completely for FNATIC now. This is where, if there is going to be a comeback, it has to start now. There's no 2 other ways about it. It has to be now, and KRU going to opt to stick on what they've got. They don't have many other options, it seems as though. So this is a huge round for KRU if they want to have a chance, at least in map 1.
I love this as well. Durka instantly walking mid, and as soon as he gets to the bottom, FNATIC know they can lean towards A. Again, they got the Killjoy set up over on C. You can sit in garage and comfortably control that side, but FNATIC now can put a lot of emphasis if there's any presence shown. Actually, Doma investing the wall on sewers makes it pretty much only A long that KRU can make a play on for the time being. That wall expiring, Boaster gonna pop a star at the top of ramp there. You can see that gets popped as well, and they're gonna be in a good position to greet KRU on the way in here.
And the fast flank from Durka is going to be there as well, so I want to keep my eyes on that. Mystic happy to stand here. He's going to get the advantage on the fight to start with. Big trade for Mazzino, but still, Doma's still in place. This is a shutdown. The flash came out, but didn't blind him enough to be able to get away with it. Boaster now on the site as well. Mazzino with it all to do. A 1v3 presented. This would have to be an ace to save the side. And FNATIC deny. They keep 2 standing, and they get to 11. KRU needed that, and it just fell to pieces.
And actually, timing-wise, that played into Crew's favor because I think Boaster actually drifted back into A linker. I guess to reset and put that star over on short when I guess the information was relayed from Mystic that, you know, actually nobody's pushing through yet. Plays in the side here. Actually finds 2 on the way in. Doma will find the 3rd as well. And again, just a really well-considered round for FNATIC off the back of just walking mid, honestly. Durka walks down mid and they know they can lean away from the side of the map.
They don't care about the turret. They're just going to instantly start this. Magnum takes the fight. They are playing like the favored team here. And I like that, the confidence to come in and play to your level rather than the opponent's. Klaus is down. Durka's still pushing up here, looking for another fight. Finds it. Walks away, says, I've done some damage. I don't mind anymore. But they did lose Doma in the meantime. Now, that's actually something that could cause FNATIC some struggles.
Yeah, I mean, coming into this match, I mean, the one thing FNATIC are known for are these defensive executions. Yeah, Jay, actually will find Boaster. Like I was saying, being extremely proactive like this, if they can keep finding success, they will just dismantle the default from Crew. Ooh, okay, actually, I missed an opportunity to line 2 up there and actually find that Magnum. Gonna catch the audio cue though. He's gonna be in a perfect position to catch coming out.
Have I told you about Magnum's 1v3? It starts like this. He gets the first, that's a spike now. Lost, but the trade came out as a different round. Nagzit's gonna find it, and Crew managed to stay alive, and they met the ungodly aggression, and they've managed to work their way forward. So, as it stands, 11-5. But I don't think we've seen a normal FNATIC round. We've had Durka walk in mid, we've had this madness, that re-aggress constantly. They are just pushing Crew now every single time.
The other thing is and usually we would see FNATIC just throw everything on the line to fight for A lobby control. And it's usually, you know, Magnum to hold down mid, garage, and C in the first kind of 15 to 20 seconds in order to achieve that. Here, actually, we're seeing a complete switch up, and I guess actually they're respecting Crew's setup a lot more than I was anticipating. Dirk actually going to find Nags here very early on. The wall gets invested.
Toxin screen down.
Now, there's a little bit of danger to this round. Looking at the armor with Doma, looking at a little bit of light armor with Magnum. There is a rifle with Durka who's got his HP back up now. You can see Crew now taking their time. FNATIC, would you dare go? I guess you don't have much to lose. You want to try and thread the needle, find that timing, but Crew seems so aware of the possibility. Klaus is going to be on red alert after those last couple of rounds.
Yeah.
Crew really need to be watching everything. They can't take it for granted. Boaster's already going walkabouts in mid. He's got Durka by his side as well. So as Crew do progress towards A, there is going to be that little bit of a notion in the back of their minds going, okay, maybe there's a time limit on this. Okay, and there's a flash. So information found for FNATIC, but Mystic's going to be outgunned in this one. Flash comes back in from BNJ. And actually, investment of the ult, but with the slow towards short, going to deny quick progress here. And FNATIC can just wait at the back of sight.
Yeah, 2 players being tucked in hell makes it really difficult for Crew. They've got to come through and deal with these players. They don't have sight control just yet. Durka with a Magnum in hand as well. The 3rd on the round for him.
He can't get away with this. How on earth has he been allowed to get away with this? FNATIC turn it to 12. And in any essence of Crew, just for a second having a lapse in judgment, FNATIC punished from the backlines. Durka finding the space to operate when he really shouldn't have been able to.
Yeah, and I mean, with the lockdown being invested, all they need to do is have somebody come up long. And they spot that out. They spot that there's going to be 2 players in hell. Just, yeah, really, really strange. But Durka gets away with murder, you got to say it. Finding the 3rd on the round initially there, and then finding the 4th. And
they're walking mid.
Invested as well.
Durka's just walking mid at map point, and he's got 2 kills. He's on fire right now, and he wants to keep going, but Klaus denies it, extinguishing the flames, so they're starting to build through mid. Doma, though, on the push as well. This is dominance from FNATIC at 13-5. Map 1 is a wrap.
And that ends in the fashion that I would have expected early on from FNATIC, right? And again, you give them an inch, they take a mile, and those are the sorts of rounds that they just look so damn good. Boaster, happy with that one. Very, very happy with that one. And a brilliant performance on map 1 to open the series here. This was, for me, the perfect map for FNATIC to get the ball rolling on, Lauren.
All right, I need to take a second to get my thoughts together. I'm sure FNATIC want to get all of the considerations in place for map 2, but before we get there, we'll be heading to a very short break, and when we're back, let's see if KRU can double down and bring this one back to a third, because they're gonna have to try and deliver here. It's all on the line now. I don't know which way this is going, but FNATIC have turned up and made a hell of a statement in map 1. So guys, stay tuned. We'll be back in a moment's time with map 2.
Rolls down my soul, save my life, give me time. Say walls down my soul, it's alright. I'ma fight, go ahead, give me all your fight. It's all I need, and I just wanna feel your light. It's all I need, and I just want you on my side. So tell me when you're right. Go ahead, give me all your fight. I've been caught up in this life, don't speak my mind enough. I'm trying pushing on me, boundaries break like all the time. Yeah, I just gotta hold on, common ground to stand on. You push me in this fiction, just go ahead, give me all your fight. It's all I need. I just wanna feel your love. It's all I need, and I just want you on my side. So tell me when you're right. Walls down my soul, save my life, give me time. Say walls down my soul, it's alright. I'ma fight, go ahead, give me all your fight. It's all I need, and I just wanna feel your light. It's all I need, and I just want you on my side. So tell me when you're right. Go ahead, give me all your fight. I've been caught up in this life, don't speak my mind enough. I'm trying to keep pushing on me, boundaries break like all the time. Yeah, I just gotta hold on, common ground to stand on. You push me in this fiction, just go ahead, give me all your fight. It's all I need. I just wanna feel your light. It's all I need, and I just want you on my side.
Welcome back, everyone, to Masters 2. We just wrapped up map 1 with FNATIC versus KRU Esports. And let me tell you, FNATIC, they look pretty darn good. I'm Golden Boy, joined once again by my esteemed colleagues here. We got Achilleos along with Veli and Lothar. And gentlemen, I mean, you know, let's just call a spade, you know? Veli, that was kind of a shellacking, you know?
I mean,
FNATIC looked good.
Yeah, no, they looked great, okay? Especially starting off the entire game. KRU pops off and they win the first 2 rounds. And Nagzet gets what? A 4K to kick things off? I was saying to myself, no, I asked Lothar actually, I said, Lothar, how would you feel if Fnatic was the first team that got upset? He said, Belly, it's not going to happen. And I was like, okay. Boaster and everybody picked it up. Fnatic did their homework. They were able to counter-strat KRU. And KRU, if they want a chance in this, they're going to have to bring some variety come map 2.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be a problem, right, Lothar?
Yeah.
Because that has been something that we needed to see from them. They struggle with just changing it up, clearly.
Yeah, they didn't change much on the defense. Every single round was basically the same defense, positioning on the utility, the usage, the timings were the same. The round 7 that we had was absolutely beautiful execution from Fnatic, which basically preyed on those setups they had seen on the tapes and in the game. So they knew there's nothing that will just surprise them. And Fnatic just faked an attack on long C, then went to A with 3 other players, and KRU was just clueless on what was happening. That was a beautiful execution by Fnatic, something that we talked in the pre-show, that they will be prepared, they will read everything, and KRU was just caught off guard. So question is, what can they do to not be caught off guard on Icebox, which they don't really play much, right?
Yeah, I believe they played a grand total of 3 times, if I'm
3 times.
If I'm correct.
I mean, they've won every single time that they've played on Icebox, but 3 times is not a good number of times they've played a map to have any form of confidence on it, especially when you're coming from a smaller, unproven region. I really have to worry for KRU. And I'm also just kind of confused. I was concerned when I saw the map draft coming in. I assumed that they would have selected Ascent, given that, they had split banned away from them. They banned, of course, Bind away from Fnatic. I thought they would have went to Ascent, where they have more playtime, where they have a higher win percentage. And it's still a good map for Fnatic, but it's not as good as Haven has been for them historically. So they tried to change things up, going against my expectations as far as the map draft is concerned. But it clearly it didn't work out, and they were not really willing to change any strategies at all throughout the duration of Haven.
Yeah, well, here are some of the stats from that game. And Veli, I do want to get your thoughts on this because, look, let's just keep it real. Delzik struggled, bro. He struggled.
Yeah, Delzik was taken advantage of, and I'm going to have to give a big shout out to Boaster for that. And Fnatic, like I said, did their homework. Where does Delzik play every single time? We all know it's Garage. But this is the thing. Exactly. The stars are so expensive, so they're valuable. You can't waste them. What does Delzik do? He wants to gravity well into the nano swarm into the corner of Garage. The thing was, they offered footsteps and just any type of distraction to make sure that Delzik wasted that precious utility. KRU, they're not a retake team. They like to funnel in and force those fights. So the fact that the utility wasn't working and the retakes weren't there, Delzik was walking into fights with a kit that just wasn't in his favor. But on the other end, Durkee and the rest of this team, they popped off. They knew exactly where the rotates were going to be. They knew that A was going to be open. And Durka, as the only duelist in the lobby, on top, you love to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a stark contrast between the Astros, right? We have seen Boaster do something that I mentioned when we were recording content for VCT EU about Astra. Astra is the perfect agent for lurking, and Boaster actually brought that. When she's going into the astral form, she cannot trade. She's not Brimstone. She's not Omen, who can be with the team and support them with the paranoia and be ready to instantly trade, or with the instant smokes from Brimstone, check a corner with the molly. Astra is a little bit slower on the pace, which makes her perfect to lurk, because when she's tucked in a corner and using her Astra form to just set up the stuns, the pulls for the team to execute on side, she is waiting for the rotations. And Boaster was doing exactly that on this map. Such a stark contrast between the playstyle between those two teams, and Boaster made so many impact kills. You don't see many kills on his on his scoreboard, but every single one of them was an impact kill.
Yeah, high impact kills. Lots of highlights coming from Fnatic. Speaking of highlights, we actually have a few of those presented by Prime Gaming, because there were basically a Fnatic montage that was put together here. Kilios, what do you got for me, bud?
I mean, there were some good moments. The start of this series for KRU was great. I mean, Veli kind of touched on it. They picked up those first 2 rounds. Was really explosive, SMG round for them coming in. But after that, things just really started to fall apart. I will highlight Klaus for KRU. He seemed to be kind of the rock for the squad. He was regularly coming up with multi-kills and whatnot, but this was very much just a runaway victory for FNATIC. I mean, 5 rounds in total, scoop for KRU. They win the pistol, they get the follow-up, they win one more round in the second half after that, but that's as good as it can get. It just, they weren't really able to string anything together to really get the snowball going when they had weapon advantage. They would just lose out. They're just getting outgunned by FNATIC at every twist and turn here. And it's just over and over again. You'll see a couple glimmers of hope for KRU, but then very widely as the pop-off comes in, it's just utter domination at the hands of the FNATIC players.
Yeah, they slapped. Like that is the best possible phrase I could use there, because they look so good.
Be slapping.
They do be slapping. And I'm expecting that they could be slapping some more on Icebox, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Vel, though, you know, there's one thing that we highlighted. We're watching the game, we're talking about it. There seems to be this just reliance on these specific setups that KRU has, and FNATIC, they just walked all over them.
Yes, I honestly believe that that's going to be the biggest issue come Icebox. If you take a look at what FNATIC does, especially at A, that Viper toxic screen, that green wall you're going to see is going to cut off half of the site, and especially over in Heaven and the entrance to the site. So if KRU wants to stay on site again with 1 or 2 players and try to hold back the onslaught that FNATIC is going to bring, that's not going to work. They're going to have to learn to back up. They're going to have to learn to play as a team. That's the only way you could beat FNATIC, unless you just steamroll through and try to abuse numbers. I don't see that being the case. I want to see KRU be more reliant and versatile when it comes to just reading the looks that they're given rather than forcing their gameplay against one of Europe's finest.
And, you know, when it comes to Icebox, we have seen a lot of innovation when it comes to Viper on this map. And the question is how much we'll see that from KRU as well. The way I think about Viper in general on every single map, but especially on Icebox, she's basically a sentinel that has nanoswarms, but coincidentally they just cover vision at the same time. So it's not exactly a smoke. Like the toxin cloud, the orb can be put out on a default spot on the site to stop a plant, to delay the plant, to stop Sage from just taking control of B side on attack. And then what do? You don't have enough utility to reclaim the attack and be there again. So I'm sure that FNATIC will have a concise plan when it comes to execute. The question is how well KRU will be doing an adaptation to that, right? And we didn't see that on Haven. It's going to be very tough on Icebox when we only have seen one time, at least I have seen KRU play only one time on Icebox. And, you know, you can't really read much from that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope that we see some more fluidity. Just overall, it seems like they're playing way too stiff. They're just trying to go for the same defensive setups, the same plays when they're on an attack. I think that they need to get out of their comfort zone a little bit because, I mean, their comfort zone is probably feeling pretty damn uncomfortable at the moment. The Aster especially, I hope that they change it up because they need to do something different.
Yeah, that's right. Well, you know what, folks, as the teams are going to get ready to go and starting for Mat 2, let's go ahead and send it over to 2 of my favorite people. We got Pansy and Hypoc on the mic. Pansy, take it away.
What a treat it is to always hear Golden Boy. I love it. You know, I have to listen to the analyst desk. I mean, well, there's a little bit of NA bias out there. I don't know, Veli, that shirt.
We'll
that
let him
shirt
get away with it.
is, yeah, true. All right, we let him get away with it. But for now, we do need to start talking about Map 2. And of course, you can't hate Veli. He's too adorable. But we have to talk about Icebox now. We have to talk about what's coming up in this Agent Select and the potential opportunities here for KRU to maybe even bring this game back. Now, statistically, I guess at a quick glance, 100%, that's pretty tasty. Yet, out of 3 games played, it's certainly not within their comfort picks, I guess. It's just, it's a map that they have played occasionally, but it's not a pretty one.
Like I said, actually, maybe this is FNATIC kind of playing the long game, right? If this does go to the side or whatever, but Icebox not played at all throughout the Challengers Finals for KRU. So, again, are FNATIC reading into that? Are they reading potential weakness here? Because one thing, and actually Veli made a fantastic point at the top of show, Lauren, is FNATIC's ability with a composition like this to control both aspects of pace changes, right? They have the ability to slow things down, and with Durka playing the way he played on map 1, they have the ability to just full brute force as well. This is, I've got to be honest, a massive positive for a map like Icebox.
Yeah, it's a little scary when you're going to have a pop-up player, but I think we're going to see that throughout this tournament. You know, as much as, yes, you can see Durka, yes, then you can imagine Scream or Yampi, but then throw in the likes of Tens, throw out so many of these players from varying regions that will also be able to consistently do this. There are a lot of heavy-hitting players in this tournament, so it's lovely to see Durka being one of those to find the form first and foremost, but it's also a point for KRU that when I looked into them statistically, there wasn't that like one pop-off player. They had a couple that did very well, but it wasn't just like, oh, here's your main man, right? Here's your guy to watch. So it was like every one of them was good, but I guess welcome to the benefit of having someone like your Tens, like your Scream, like your Durka, whoever it may be. What a lovely bonus that is.
I think yes, you can look at that as a positive, but I think if we look a little deeper at map one, another Des touched on this as well, that it's the adaptation. This is the problem for that. Yes, you can have a couple of players performing consistently or solidly, as you say. Actually, you know, the amount of success they found with B&J and Nags over on A site, for example. It's the fact that actually the other half of the team elsewhere weren't finding the same control, the same value, and there just wasn't enough. There wasn't enough of a switch up from KRU. They weren't able to react on finding that success over on A and really capitalize on those early first bloods and control ultimately.
Yeah, it's going to be an uphill struggle for KRU. I think we all know that coming into this, and there's a reason people touted them as maybe a dark horse, but we had to see a little more. And FNATIC, I feel, have not necessarily over-delivered, but they've definitely answered a couple of critics who might have said, well, land pressure, well, young players, they're just playing to, you know, they were quick on the meta. No, they look like the real deal. And of course, you know, we are sitting here waiting to start the game. I've got the start game button on my desk. I'm not going to hit it yet.
You got it today.
I've got it today. You got it in the next couple of days. I've got it right now.
Chat director all towards Pansy today. I've heard actually the more you at her in chat, the more likely she is to push the button. I'm sure Yinsu's absolutely begging for it in chat as well.
Of course, you got the spams going. And the one bonus about this entire event is that, you know, between the breaks, maybe I'm checking out some of the co-streams, you know. What's old Jonas up to apart from doing our intros every single event? They're like, all right, bring him in, wheel him back out with his guitar. It's like anytime you need some filler content, Jonas, get on stage. It's great. Yeah, but I love the fact that all the community is enjoying this. I think you might even get a treat of Sean joining some of the streams. So, as said, it's one thing I do genuinely.
Are you teasing right now?
Look, I've been on the Twitters, I've been on the socials, I've been looking around. I've got to steal my opinions from somewhere. But genuinely, it's cool to see it being. It feels like a big community event. You know what I mean? Like, yes, we're in Reykjavik, we're in Iceland, and it is a big land, but it does feel like we're all getting to see this for the first time together and getting to enjoy a real historical moment for Valorant overall. The fact that these players, you know, some of them brand new to land, some others more veteran, some with the first time hitting new peaks in a game like this, you know, maybe coming off the back of a previous career, not quite finding that success, but here, off to that hot start, maybe a chance at redemption for some, who knows? There's plenty of storylines all coming through, and yeah, so far it's been pretty solid. I mean, I'd probably be a little bit more sad if FNATIC were down, but, you know, it feels good to be right once in a while. A broken clock, have you heard that phrase, you know?
Is it right twice a day or something?
Yeah, something like that. I've heard. But once the players are ready, we'll be jumping into Agent Select, of course, and we'll let you know what they're going to be running with. Do you think there's... I'm trying to think if there's anything that would catch us off guard at this point. I don't think it's... Look, FNATIC have brought out some weird comps when they felt like they're not necessarily in the bag, but if they're very confident, sometimes they do bring out some mad compositions. I just don't think we're going to see it now. I think there's too much on the line here.
Yeah, and actually on the flip side of that, I don't think we're going to see KRU actually. With what I've seen on map 1, I don't think we're going to see them make a massive adjustment here and play very fast and loose. We know actually, historically, at least back in EMEA and in the European region, FNATIC have been caught off guard by a few teams just going all out, just like just hard puggy play style.
True.
Now, we haven't seen... You know, actually, this roster with Durka and Magnum be tested in that regard. But I'm thinking back to, you know, teams like Ascend, the Ballista, or the other one that stands out in FNATIC's match history.
Well, just waiting on it to come up. You can see the coaching there. FNATIC have brought out everyone, apparently. Just, again, if you need filler, Jonas. If you need a million coaches, FNATIC. It's all there. But we're waiting for this one to stop, and here we go. Right into Agent Select. And a reminder, brought to you by Prime Gaming. Let's see if there's any surprises, anything standing out to you here, because this looks par for the course for me.
Yeah, it does. It's actually the only real difference here is actually, no apologies. Yeah, Mazzino is on the Viper here, and again, composition-wise, it's going to be difficult really to make any sort of expectations on the side of Crew, with this obviously not having any fresh data to go off from the Challengers finals at least, but no surprises on the side of FNATIC. You know, the last few times we've seen them play Icebox, it's been Durka doing Durka things, right? And actually, you know, shout out as well, Doma flexing onto the stage. We know actually that's more of a recent change for FNATIC, and it's looked really, really good for them.
Okay, so a little bit of a mirror matchup. Quite like that. I guess you get to see I guess it's not the agent that makes the difference, it's the player behind it, which is always a nice concept to keep in mind. And it does look as though we are almost ready to get this one started up. Now, all eyes turn towards Crew to try and bring this one back. Now, keep in mind, this is FNATIC's choice coming into it, and I think that we all said if it goes to a third map, that's where maybe those win conditions for Crew could kick in, but they need to close this down. FNATIC going to be kicking things off on the attacking side, and Crew on the defensive side.
Let's see early on. Zeno and Delzik. Actually, Delzik going to wall up and potentially get onto the top of green here, but at least for the time being, the double wall on B lane going to give them lots of control. Delzik actually going to opt to play close contact with Mazzino.
I mean, it's a one and done if they get checked on, but Mazzino straight up and over finds Boaster. That's a little bit of a shocker. Boaster's probably not happy with that, going to have to peel away, and again, that Viper Wall's doing wonders for them here. Magnum, yes, can keep patrolling on this, make sure there's no aggression on the other side, but at this point, FNATIC are looking for their first step in. Zeno spotted again, but this plays well for Delzik. Just being kept quiet in the cubby. Straight up Harry Potter here under the stairs. And Magnum's slow progress, but now going to be noted.
The alarm bot actually chasing Magnum all the way back through main stair. Got to respect it for the time being. FNATIC actually going to send a spike over towards A site now, and I think they've identified that at least the weaker side of this setup from Crew in terms of numbers. Nags actually comes through, finds a headshot but no kill, and the spike will get planted uncontested behind that wall.
Look, we have seen, though, Crew on these pistols have been pretty solid. The vast majority of their rounds. Delzik, though, does lose out to Mystic, who's keeping this one in check, but Mazzino's also doubled down. Yeah, and I don't... They're kind of checking on it, but they haven't noted him at all. Durka's still here as well. And look at Doma just keeping himself quiet, surrounded by Crew players. Nagsit's going to find Durka. Mazzino does find Mystic, but keep your eyes on Doma. What can he do from here? Now going to be feeling the burn. Has to try and do something. Nagsit denies. Now Magnum left. In a 1v4, denial would be difficult. Does get the first cleanly, but the defuse is coming in. Whether he wants it or not, he can't do anything about it. And Crew going to keep that pistol record high at least.
Yeah, it's unfortunate as Mazzino just slipped through, and I think that Nags was picked up, and the timing was actually really unfortunate for FNATIC, right? Because they find that kill and they think, oh, there's probably going to be one more flanking, right? Mazzino's able to just sit and survive on Belt, and you can see Mystic actually resetting for the lineup. See right here, does get it off, but unfortunately doesn't find that kill. Only 4 shots left in the Classic as well for Mazzino, so right down to the wire there, but well played nonetheless on the double flank.
Now, by coming back in, it's a buy from FNATIC on this, as much as they can at least. Marshall out, Sheriff, bits and pieces, SMGs as well with light armor, then they're not going lightly into this one, and a tag is going to be a little bit of a problem. Nagsit can back away, try and get that HP back up, but now going to be put on notice. They know something's astray, and FNATIC trying to just take map control here, take site control. You can see the dividing line coming out, at least from Viper here, trying to keep the enemies further back. The wall going to keep safe for the spike plant, and now into the post plant. This is where FNATIC can become an exceedingly strong team.
You can see them reset back now and rely on the strength of this post plant utility. Let's see, kill comes through initially. Nano's form going to force them off that initial diffuse tap, and Crew have got to come through and clear this here, Lauren.
Yeah, they have to get aggressive. You can't sit back on this. We know these post plants, you've got to fight them. There's no two ways about it. Now, Boaster and Durka, the last two alive here. And the flank from Boaster could be big. He does just about see the cape, but as the player taps away so gently, gets him off the spike defuse, but it is on halfway. And now all three start flooding through. There's nothing he can do. And Klaus comes back around, and they do convert the second up against a bit of a force buy.
Yeah, I mean, FNATIC come through, they get the plant, and really with a purchase like this, they're looking to get that clean spike plant, come away, reset, and play clean on that post plant. But right there, I mean, Crew are able to, I guess, damage control-wise, back up, respect it initially, and then come through and use the numbers to their advantage. Just, I guess, take the fight with the right players early on.
Poison's gone.
Voiceover lines in slow-mo just really bring me life. Poison's gone. For now, though, back on a little bit of a piece together purchase. Durka may be opting to try and kind of keep his economy working in the right direction. He is one of those hybrid oppers. He does not heavily depend on the op on this map, especially. It's something you'll get used to. He will run a rifle. There's been a couple of really nice statistic pieces done about him and specifically his work on it, so don't be too worried in that regard. On the other side, going to stick on what they've got. A couple of Spectres out, Sheriff for Mazzino, and Bulldog for BNJ to try and deal with this. Now, for now, it does just come down to Mazzino on this corner. Going to get the contact, fall back away, depend on the utility, just to create a bit of a one-way that he can utilize, and just slows down the push if FNATIC try to maybe springboard off the back of that.
And for the time being, FNATIC have to respect the one-way, but still only Nags and Mazzino over here. And only one member of FNATIC noted, so I guess that's why they're keeping 1 mid and 2 on A. But Boaster swings out, finds the freebie, and straight away they're going to go for this plant.
The rotations weren't leaning early. They were pretty far back. Now Boaster wants to take space and he gets it. That's huge work from Boaster. Now he can infiltrate enemy lines. He is behind the line of defense they'd love to work back in from. Now 3 on the play back through. BNJ just received a tag. That sets up Boaster. He just needs one of these shots to come through. He can't make it work for towards Nagzed, but now that's the first line of defense broken through. This retake's still got some time on it. This is not going to be easy. Durka happy to take fights. Information found for BNJ. But now we are down to the 3 that did only have those sheriffs and the utilities there. But Nags is trying to get aggressive. He knows how to fight these post plants. He's doing whatever he can for it. Magnum needs to face this. The defuse is on halfway. Takes a second, and they're running out of time. Magnum tries to buy it. I think the round is all wrapped up. They somehow turn this around.
It's actually a really, really well-timed utility usage. Again, we know exactly what FNATIC are going to do in a situation like this. They're going to reset back to lane. A couple of players take close contact and try and run the clock down on yellow, and they do just that. I mean, Doma gets picked up for free, basically from the top rope, right? And actually on the back of that, Nags pops the Blade Storm, I guess, to take full control of lane, but at that point, the damage is already done, right? They have these snake bites. It's got like a 4 or 5 second hang time, and right there, just mathematically, it becomes impossible for KRU to recover this round, regardless of what they can get down on lane.
I'm surprised they didn't sit the defuse. If I'm honest, they had, what, 2 on the play back in. They got it halfway, sure, maybe I missed something there.
I don't think they can stick the half because they were both down to like sub 50 HP. So I don't actually think they had the HP to do it.
Interesting. But 2-1 though, FNATIC going to take that every day of the week. They're more than happy. And now you can see the economy has been kind of shaken up a little bit here. KRU going to be working with a little less than ideal. 3 lighter buys coming in. SMG. Or 2 SMGs, excuse me, a Marshall, and then 2 rifles, at least with Delzik and Mazzino. Think of them as the heavy hitters. Jump peek on the corner. A bit of info found, not too much though. And it will be waiting on the other side. The Killjoy here, Klaus. Maybe here in the spike plant, can't deny it though.
It comes through behind that double wall setup, and again, FNATIC going to get that clean plant. No damage down on the way in. They're going to be able to sit very deep now. Once again, expect Durka and Doma to try and run the clock down here. Force KRU to push all the way behind yellow. And actually, Durka comes through. Doma as well. They're going to find 3 kills.
You gotta love Doma when he has rounds like that. Doma just goes full turret mode. Does not need support. Does not need help. Just goes straight to clutching out. Easily done for some. Doma making it look so simple there. All lining up for him, and he just makes it look easy. 2-2 now. FNATIC finding a little bit of that form, and I want to watch this back. So this was just off the back of that trade coming in, just straight up man-moding this. Look at that aim.
Dude. I mean, this is the thing. This is the thing, right? The beauty of this setup is you have 2 players like Durka and Doma, the ones that are like, well, yeah, we'll put them on yellow. If they find some kills, it will kill some time. But actually, they just come through and absolutely destroy KRU before they even get that retake going.
Ults out for Durka. We've seen this before. He loves to counter any oppers that might try and get a little saucy with the peaks down towards B long, but he's got a lot of attention towards middle here. Delzik's close. They're both super close. Durka, hyper aware of his angles, though, going to dip back around, trying to play it as safe as possible. Now, again, they are up against pistols, and only light armor on BNJ, so not too much of a threat, but let's see if they can keep this clean. Durka going to at least win the angle now and start building up, but you could probably see a quick flank from those 2 pushing up in mid if they feel bold enough, but even then, you still got Magnum lingering around.
That's the thing here with, I was going to say, yeah, they need to find something on this mid push, or come across and back up Mazzino because he's going to get overwhelmed very quickly. And actually, Mazzino able to escape effectively. Delzik now not able to escape. It's tagged on the out zone. Durka there to punish him.
Spike planted.
Dirk has just taken so much map control, so much space is his. He's such a nuisance. Yeah, he loses his life, but by now, this is where you have to see if Crew can find some more. They've maybe cracked open the first step. That's big, though. Doma goes down. Now, the last three, let's look at these positions that they currently hold. They're not ideal, but Magnum, there's that mid-lurk from him coming in super valuable at this point. Boaster takes the fight, loses the fight. Crew are doing everything they can for this Mystic. Didn't need to go for it, but he just styles on them in the end. The defuse was kept safe regardless. The utility still in play, but Mystic just making it look stylish, even though Crew did get close.
Right, so the big thing to note here, and I was just about to say, they need to find something from that mid push because, again, here's another round where they've not been able to pressure this deep setup on B lane, right? We know, expectation-wise, they must anticipate what's coming, right? They get the clean spike plant, they know they're going to reset all the way back and just play utility. The hit needs to come through much earlier from Crew. Yes, pistols on that round, a frenzy, a sheriff here or there, but on the buy round, I want to see them adjust and address this post plant.
Nagzet straight on the op here. Let's see how he looks with this one. Be sitting deep towards back of A. Rinse and repeat. It looks like somewhat for FNATIC, still leaning towards that B site. Klaus could be the one tasked with dealing with this.
Yeah. It's actually as well with Magnum sat here again. The Viper's Pit invested on A. Magnum can kind of read into this that there's not really going to be any aggression. Mystic actually going to respond with a Viper's Pit of his own on B over default. Hunter's Fury also invested from Boaster. It's going to allow this plant to come through. And once again now, I want to see Crew send somebody flanking. They need to come through and pressure the back line.
Yeah, but by now Dirk is already finding frags. You could have maybe seen that flank coming out from Mazzino, maybe, but even then, look at them, they're just funneled in. Both Killjoys investing. This is messy as anything. So many ults online right now, but Boaster doesn't care. Neither does Durka. This is going to be Crew having to back away. They have nothing to work out of this one. They can maybe make it costly, but that's not the win that you want here. Yeah, it's time to get out of there, but you could already see the hunt starting to begin. Mystic's happy to try and take some of these rifles away if they can get to them in time, but so much was just invested in that round, and it still works out at a 4v2, and it's going to be down to just one rifle remaining for Delzik, and Magnum's closing in as well.
This is brutal. And the problem right there is you invest a lockdown on B, it only gives you control of site. Now, knowing that FNATIC are playing on lane, that lockdown in lane is always going to yield a better result because they have to come through and push. And especially if they get planted, you know, a 1 second offset, it's always the attacker's lockdown that's going to last longer.
And that's straight above the ult. Durka just
Right
lovely.
there. Actually, it was on. Was it actually on yellow? No, it wasn't. It was on lane. Apologies. So the mini map actually on rotation there caught me off guard. I was like, they actually put the lockdown on yellow for a second there.
4-2, and we need to see Crew break the trend of the rifle rounds just not being their friend.
Yeah.
We really need to see them get a rifle round on the board here, and it looks like Mazzino wants to take matters into his own hands, gonna try and get aggressive and lose his life. Mystic happy to take the attention away. It looks like they want to get aggressive, and they're trying to do this at range against rifles. That's lovely from BNJ, but it doesn't make for much at this point. Nagzit gonna have to fall away from this too. The aggression, yes, it found one. Not particularly that impressive at this point.
No, and the fact that the first time we're seeing Crew really explore any early round territory is on a round like this with this purchase is kind of unfortunate to see. Yes, it's a big risk on a buy round, but they have to. They have to fight for this. They can't keep giving up the plants. It just plays into FNATIC's hands. They're actually going to land a last couple of shots with the Sheriff there onto Durka. Remove one weapon off the table at least. Magnum there to greet Klaus in mid. Means he actually got the armor here, so could potentially go hunting. I don't think actually on a round like this. Okay, not going to matter at all.
Doma says no. Here's the thing, right? Like, here's the actual kind of scary part to me is that FNATIC haven't been doing anything wild. We've seen a solid B-Tech so far with a little bit of a late mid-hold coming out from
Look at the numbers, Lauren. Look at the numbers. Like, there's not a lot of this. In terms of actual kills, these are going back and forth. It's the fact that, like I said, clean rounds come through. FNATIC don't even need to fight in the post plant. They don't need to.
We go again. Crew, look, they have timeouts available. I'd love to see them call a tactical timeout if they really start feeling they don't have a simple answer to this. And it looks like a different look coming out this time as well. We spoke about what they traditionally do, but you can see the switch up. It looks like maybe off the back of the chance of that op purchase coming out, or just simply thinking it's time to go for the switch up here. And Doka outdoes him! What? He just Ferrari peeks an op! Naxa just got deleted. The body bag's just being zipped up as we speak. That's nasty from Durka.
That's the first time somebody's played on top of yellow as well. So Durka's literally just full swung. Oh my word.
Unreal stuff. Must be nice to have someone like him. But now Klaus, again, we haven't seen too many of these rifle rounds lean towards this A site, so Crew are going to have to be sitting a little bit deeper. They've lost part of the side control enough of the extent that they'll probably give up the plant. But FNATIC taking a pause for thought here, clearing utility as they go. Not in a massive hurry just yet.
They're actually playing this deep enough. Actually, Klaus will come through, find a trade. I was going to say, I think they're playing deep enough to allow the Hunter's Fury to come through, but no tag on the plant here, and BNJ will find the second and third, and the res comes through, so man advantage in favor of
Mystic
Crew on this
still up.
retake.
Mystic is still alive. Keep your eye on this post plant. This is where things start becoming a problem. They do have the extra body to put down to at least try and pull this retake off. BNJ could be the first one forward. Trade comes in. Delzik stays alive. Mazzino does find Magnum. Is on Durka now. Diffuse could be toyed with. Not just yet. Durka just checks on it for a second. Goes back.
No way.
Knives out. Slices them up. Huge work from Durka again. He starts the round with a bang and he closes it. Just shuts the book on them.
Oh my word. What a round from him. Like you said, opens it up with an insane headshot over on B lane, closes things out. The Red Ball clutch coming from Durka here. The Blade Storm absolutely on peak. It's beautiful.
Enemy remaining.
Unbearably good. Durka has had a performance. Welcome to the big leagues, boys, girls. This is something else, truly. This is Durka saying, yeah, no worries, boys. I got you. We got this. And Crew, yeah, they can get aggressive right now. We see them do this in their kind of half buys, their force buys, but they need this to land. And Durka's just on one. Everything's just feeling right for him. We do see the Vipers pushed up in the form of Mazzino, taking a little bit of space, but keep in mind, they've got the SMGs, they've got Sheriffs, they've got Frenzies. It ain't much to play with, even with this slightly above average position. This could be nice. No, Durka just turns on him. This guy is having a series now. He's just feeling it. He wants to just go in, and they might as well here. They've got the numbers. So a 4v3 towards the site.
So Delzik and Nags are actually pretty close already on default here. Durka goes exploring. We'll find another one. He spots one out coming through from Kitchen. Klaus. Not much longer for this world, I think, if Durka decides to swing once again. Actually, as I say that, we'll find the Sheriff headshot, but all the meanwhile, Magnum got himself a beautiful lurk all the way into Kitchen here, going to be able to cut off this rotation, and all this information plays into FNATIC's favor. They have control of A site, get the plant down for free, and Magnum can just play deathmatch here.
And look, if you're new to FNATIC, if you maybe hadn't watched too much EU Valorant, hey, look, I don't blame you. I get it. NA's exciting. They have all the flashiness, but you got players like Durka out here, right? Now, these were the firepower upgrades that FNATIC invested into. Durka and Magnum, they brought them on at a really risky time. This was a huge investment of them to try and bring this firepower. Now, Klaus does very nicely, but very unlikely the round goes anywhere other than expected, of course. So at this point,
you see both
just checking. I just wanted to make sure I could hear the sound then. I'm like, oh, no. I've seen weirder things. It's not going to happen. Don't worry about it. But once again, this was FNATIC investing in two not unknown players, but not, metal-tested players. You think about some of the other names out there. Exactly. Unproven players. And they were young guns coming in who definitely caught the attention of other EU teams, but at this point, they are worth their weight in gold. We've already seen that come through, so big moves from FNATIC at the right time. The plug-and-play players of these guys just looking fantastic. Look at that snap from him. And now, again, we asked the question, Crew in these rifle rounds, where have they been?
Well, once again, then, Mazzino goes exploring B lane with a Spectre. I want to see a little more of a setup. Now, the problem is, the one time they've tried to make an adjustment, Nagset got absolutely destroyed with that operator. Again, you're going to see him post up deep here on B. But again, I don't think it really addresses the problem at hand, right? Which is FNATIC getting so much control on front site, on B, that they're able to just run the clock down. They're able to just reset. They're able to just basically wait for KRU to make a move. And every single time it's this kind of disjointed retake where there's no real utility investment. It's just a couple of swings out on the back of Mazzino's wall if he's still up. There's no real challenge towards the back line of FNATIC.
No, they're not displacing any of it. It's, again, to the extent they're challenging the post plants, but even then, I want it to be earlier. I want them to...
Exactly.
They need a little more to it, a little bit more of a fire burning underneath them.
The thing is, Mazzino's happy to give up B side, which I like. Again, it's not as if he's dying and leaving it wide open, but the fact that he's backing away and then everybody comes through mid, they're all stacking up in kitchen, they're stacking up towards Snowman. There's nobody coming through to challenge Magnum on that lurk, and he has so much information. So much information, and at that point, FNATIC don't need to move at all. The fact that Durka and Doma keep just... I'll say it, overstepping on yellow and finding a lot of value doing it. Don't get me wrong, they're finding kills consistently doing it. But right there, again, it comes down to the fact that KRU just peeking one by one in the retakes. And they're peeking with the wrong players. It's Durka and Doma, which don't matter at all when you think bigger picture.
Yeah, and they're happy to be frontline players. They'll take that hit. That's absolutely fine. They'll just try and, as I said, put body on the line to protect Mystic. But at 7-2, the tactical timeout does finally dissipate. KRU, hopefully they've come up with an idea. We've got to see what they change up, what they do in this, because they have been overrun. We need to see a stop to the rot. 7 rounds sitting in the pocket of FNATIC, 2 towards KRU. And it looks like they are trying to show a lot of presence towards long here. They're looking for those early fights. Maybe this is a switch up and they lose to Durka. For now, he stays alive with 56 HP. There's still another player here. Finally, Mazzino gets it. The double down from Mazzino's big. That's map control. Fought for and won. But Klaus is going to hear all this. He knows this player's coming his way, and now there's a time limit on it. What does he do? He looked lost.
Boaster?
He looked... I don't know how Boaster gets away with it, 1, and how 2, Klaus just looked like he wasn't ready for it. At this point, now we're down to 2, BNJ and Mazzino. Magnum spots him out on the flank. FNATIC, just, they're all encompassing right now. As finally Mazzino wins that fight on long, the instant flex on the push towards A.
It's beautiful to watch as Mazzino's going to get caught knife in hand, but the contingencies in place from FNATIC, it's actually crazy. Again, in another scenario, Durka finds value there and finds the kill onto Mazzino, finds the opening on B. Yes, Delzik comes through and actually repeating what they did in the pistol round, right, to try and contest control of top green, and Mazzino puts down actually a snake bite on there, and Delzik comes through to try and challenge inside the cloudburst. Somehow, again, through all that, Durka still wins the 1v1. Again, that's a different story. They find that, Mazzino comes through, finds 2 kills, and they're set up to then just completely collapse onto A.
Okay, we go again. Let's see if this can maybe change something up here. Ult now invested as well. Several ults invested into this one as best they can. KRU are going to throw everything that they can into this. However, no early victory off the back of it, maybe thwarting a little bit of that B lane control, but at this point, we have to wait and see where FNATIC take themselves to. The first time they've been kind of fought away from the extremities of this map.
And we see the same adjustment here with Mazzino over towards A side with the Viper's Pit. Going to try and garner some territory control. He's going to spot out the alarm bot inside, actually going to get dealt with as well. But 3 players of FNATIC stacked up outside. Actually, it's Mystic and Durka tucked in behind the wall in tube. So again, a little bit of a fake here from FNATIC to show some presence on A, as if they're going to contest Mazzino's ult.
I mean, this is a whole new look to things as well. We haven't seen a mid-piece coming out from FNATIC. Yes, maybe KRU have addressed the issues in the previous rounds, but let's see how much space they get here.
30 seconds left.
Down to 30. That mid-piece. Oh no! Tilzik gets caught in the middle of it. Klaus and BNJ still going to do well, though. Klaus playing so well, trying to make up for all the problems that they've had here. Nags it just with the pistol in his hand, just trying to buy the time. 15 seconds. Where is that spike? It is with Mystic right now, on towards the site itself. Tries to get a quick plant through, and it looks like so he's going to get it. Klaus is right on by. Nags it by his side. There's a 3v2 now. Play back in. Mazzino just trying to keep this one in check, and you can see the pit's a little unique here.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, but this Viper's Pit is actually pretty toxic.
No.
It's
Mystic. Oh,
so awkwardly
they
set
can't get
up.
on it. This is horrible, and Doma is just being such a problem. He doesn't even need to repeat this. He's just biding time, keeping the pressure away from Mystic again. And you can see Mystic don't need though help. He's fine. Nagzit goes down. Klaus gonna be down to 1 HP. And just, yeah, there's nothing to be done. This is one of those strats. It's one of those little pieces, those pocket pieces from FNATIC that just terrify teams, and for the right reasons. This was a switch up. This was a bit of a different look. We'd seen those pieces run through towards B constantly, a little switch up towards the A hit, but then that mid look coming out, the setup coming through. Mystic, again, great play on the Viper.
Yeah, it is. And the big thing here is FNATIC showing versatility versus KRU that are just unable to really show us. I mean, yes, comparison to Haven, they're showing a few different setups here on defense, but it's their inability to adapt to what's going on. Yes, they can find these kills, but like I said, it comes back to the contingencies. FNATIC are so well set up to deal with any variable that doesn't even go in their favor. They still recover the round.
And I don't think we need to sugarcoat the pill on this one. This has not been a good display yet from KRU, and I feel as though they're running out of options and time and rounds. At 9-2, you can hope, you can pray all you want, but at this point the rifle rounds are just evading you. Quick plant comes in. Doma does manage to keep his life for now. I don't know if escape's going to be an option, but Dirk is going to try and bail him out. Nagzit on the other side. And it's going to be Delzik to find Doma. So into the post plant we go. Let's see if they can disrupt this. First layer of utility now toyed with. Klaus did find Durka in the meantime. Now there's going to be further layers to this. Mystic invests his piece of utility. Mazzino needs to get involved in this now.
Lurk comes through though. Magnum perfectly positioned and actually going to be able to put the turret on the top. Mystic and Magnum combine to find the final two, and it's just so beautifully considered from FNATIC. Again, Magnum peels all the way away from that execute, and the entire time, nobody from KRU comes through mid, nobody once again comes to challenge Mystic, comes to challenge the backline, and Magnum absolutely punishes them for that.
I want to talk about Magnum a little bit as well, because yes, Dirk is obviously your highlight player, right? He makes the, flashy plays in this, but the work that Magnum's been doing in mid, as just being able to deny those flanks, be a constant nuisance, always showing presence towards A if they're going for those B pieces, basically stopping them from ever really being able to do too much, and then him being late game proactive is really very impressive. He's shown really high diligence in that, and I think it's a skill that may not be rewarded enough, but I want to highlight here that Magnum's been playing his role very well. Now on the other side, we know KRU are pistol gods apparently, but again, they need to get all of the others that follow.
Come through. Actually, the wall going to go up through mid, and they're going to try and split through onto B. They might actually get a clean plant and connector here. Magnum pop one down. Boaster, okay, somehow finds a kill. A shock dart onto Nagzet there. I don't know if that was a lineup onto default, but the plant wasn't even there.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that happened, but Magnum now going to be fed information. Zeno trying to work around this. This is messy, it's scrappy, it's an unorthodox piece, but Delzik going to find another, and this is looking like KRU at least trying their best this time. Mazzino surprised, but again keeps his cool down to 2 now, and the angle's perfect for Mazzino. There's been... Wait! Oh, okay, we're all good. We're all good. No threats came through, no problems came around, everything was kept in line. I get scared when I see like a little sage just fusing away, but no problems. It's all
Tucked
good.
in
It's all
between
good.
two walls.
Yeah, I'm like, hold on, no. It's all good. It's all gravy. We're all gravy here. But it was scrappy for a little bit of time. But again, KRU and the pistols are great.
Yeah, really quick piece coming through. And again, there's not an awful lot FNATIC can really do to react to that. Again, they kind of just have to scrap, right? They just have to take that brawl over the execute. See, this time around, no, actually a bit of a different force up, but Sheriff's got a shorty on the side of Mystic, actually. Again, one thing to keep an eye on here, Lauren, will be how FNATIC deal with B lane. You can see here, again, on the back of no contact shown. Actually, Mazzino playing very, very deep, actually, to just deal with any threat coming through. But especially on the buy rounds, I want to keep an eye on how FNATIC deal with this B lane control on defense.
Clean work so far from KRU here, coming up with 2 good kills. Spike's slowly working through, and yeah, Mazzino very aware that they might be trying to get a little bit cheeky with this, but not gonna be going for much of it. And waiting down below, there is Mystic with An interesting choice of weapon. Nagzet will be tilted off the face of the earth. Yep, onto the back of that. You don't love to see it unless you're a FNATIC fan. Tries to dive back in for more, but not going to get it. And now Boaster. Last one here. Does get Nazino, but okay, 2 kills. It's not enough to really make me worried for KRU's economy. They should be okay going forward. No spike plant to really write home about, but at this point, we can't talk small picture. You have to talk big picture when you've only got 4 rounds, right? Like, that's the sketchy part. It's like, yeah, we can talk about the economy, kind of the effect of it, trying to have to, you know, work out how to balance out the rifles you're going to be investing into. When do you invest into them? Because, again, you can't really afford to play long con here. You've got to be all in as soon as possible. And this is technically your bonus round, but you really need this one.
Yeah, they really do. The 6-round deficit here. And they got to win him clean as well. FNATIC. See, it's a 5-man lean from KRU. They're going to try and walk through maze here underneath Mystic. He's actually going to get spotted out by the Aldo. I'm going to come away and back up, but early information at least gathered here. And Boaster actually a perfect crossfire to deal with that dash through from Nags. Oh, the crossfire beautiful from Mystic and Boaster there. 3 kills on the round already. Klaus and BNJ got to back up, but the spike's already lost.
It's deep into enemy territory, and the back's already covered. Yeah, the turret's there, but it doesn't matter. That whole retreat is covered off. They cornered in. BNJ and Klaus, they needed some damage, maybe a spike plant, get some rifles away, get some upgrades. That would have been perfect. And KRU watching their chances here slowly just dissipate, slip through the fingers. Klaus and BNJ, what can you do with this? Doma right, waiting. Mystic tucked in on the corner.
Player standing.
And well, BNJ gonna have to just face the music here. Flawless round coming through. Prime Gaming flawless round at that as well. But that's the, I guess, the most heartbreaking way for KRU to go through that one. You'd wanted those small bonuses, those little benefits that could maybe echoed into the next rounds. But now you're facing a disaster in front of you, which is FNATIC at full force with 11 rounds by their side, and you not having the bonus of at least a couple of rifles to bring through.
1 enemy remaining.
Yeah, this is
30 seconds left.
this is when it gets really, really tricky for KRU, because effectively it costed 1 more round, and that's gonna pull together a buy on this one. Only ultimate available on the side of Mazzino, and no decent progress elsewhere. Durka, again, look at it here. Gonna lean away with Durka playing this deep. He gets on top of green, and actually now Doma can drift all the way away from B site. Especially now with Durka finding Mazzino in the backline.
Well, Mazzino was playing spawn again. Durka well aware of that from the previous rounds, and he's happy to be this pest. He can be the nuisance. Yeah. He can keep them constantly paranoid about the back lines, let alone what could be happening in middle, through tube potentially. And now they're having to back away. They've lost time potentially. They have to re-clear this if they do want to go back towards B. And there's threats. You can see them having to shoulder peek in, jiggle peek the corners, trying to hope for the best here, but waiting a little bit deeper now will be Durka. He does have as well, I think it's Doma by his side, so the D&D combo. But no, they opt to fall the other way, kind of reaggress towards A, maybe feeling as though they've pulled enough of a rotation. Magnum did go towards B, so they do get at least now a favorable fight towards the A site.
Still got the wall, so potentially can run through and try and brute force this plant. I'll say that. Mystic actually going to fall off the rip here. Klaus finds that one. The wall will be invested on backside. Boaster actually able to poke a hole in it.
Spike planted.
It's an awkward plant actually by Delzik. It's tucked in the corner, so they can't actually play deep. It's not in sight. There's actually the Hunter Fury going to come through, nearly actually catching 3 members of KRU there. But elsewhere, Magnum, Durka, Doma all firing kills. Delzik, last man up now.
He has to just stand and fight. That's all he's got left. And Boaster outdoes him. It's going to be 12 on the board for FNATIC. And bear in mind, this ain't just map point. This is now going to be match point coming through. KRU, this is going to be heartbreaking in a round's time if they can't find an answer soon. As FNATIC have looked formidable thus far. There were question marks. We definitely theoried maybe a little bit of nerves could come into play. Some of these younger players, would it hinder them? Would it hamper them? But no, none of that has happened. They have looked exemplary so far.
They really have. And on a fundamental level, again, the other thing where we've seen FNATIC kind of fall short in some series is where they've just kind of lost that discipline factor. And right here, everything's so well considered. Like I said, the contingency's in place for everything they're doing, even if they lose 1 or 2 members.
Oh, Durka. He's pushing up. Keeps himself at least unchecked for now. If you crest that corner, he knows that they're right around there. He's seeing a pixel out of place in this man. That might be all he needs. Sees one, that's gonna be the start, the second, the Reaper from up above. Durka just like a guillotine right now, slicing through KRU, but Delzik at least puts up a fight back here. But you can see it just looks like right now FNATIC are just gonna take this from them, rip it out of their hands. Magnum happy to take the fight as Nagza is the last one alive, and FNATIC destroy KRU in the first game of Masters.
It's just simply outclassed. That's the only way to describe that. KRU showing a complete inability to deal with what FNATIC bring to this game. Like I said, Icebox was one that potentially, yes, you could consider it an anomaly in this map pool across these two teams. This is the weirdest winners celebration I've seen. No surprise, Boaster's at the center of it.
You gotta love him. They put on a show in the game and outside of the game. It's hard to not love the FNATIC side, as they've looked incredible here. I think it's definitely answered a lot of questions people may have had about them, or any doubts that could have been brought through, but they have looked exemplary in the entirety of this run, and no better way to close it. Durka being just the downfall of the opponents. 3 huge kills and just the support there with his side. Brilliant scenes from the FNATIC boys.
I think you make a really good point, right? In terms of, we talk about win conditions and concerns for FNATIC coming through. Yes, it's day 1, but already 90% of those have been squashed for me. Yes. I mean, seeing Durka step up and make just those sick confidence plays, which again, our team's first show